webinar and learn all about this amazing procedure. Register now at drmarkwagnermd.com. That's drmarkwagnermd.com.
Lexus is electrified, and the first ever RZ450E has the performance and range to get you where you need to go with the exclusive Lexus Direct 4 all-wheel drive technology. Lexus of Bellevue has over 50 RZs available for immediate delivery with electrifying savings up to $17,000 lease cash on every RZ450E. Visit lexusofbellevue.com.
On approval of credit through LFS, lease cash from Lexus available on select 2024 RZ styles. Must take delivery by July 1st, 2024. A documentary service fee up to $200 may be added to the purchase price or capitalized costs. See dealership for details.
Hey, it's Mike Salk here. And summer in Western Washington, it means trips to the beach, summer barbecues, golfing, that vacation maybe you've been looking forward to. When you take pictures this summer, don't you want to look and feel your best? Well, Eastside Weight Loss Clinic can help. And trust me, you can do it fast. I lost 15 pounds in the first 2 weeks. I lost 35 pounds overall after 8 weeks. There is time. What are you waiting for? Schedule a 15-minute, no-obligation consultation right now at eastsideweightlossclinic.com. Here's what to expect. Safe, healthy, sustainable weight loss. No exercise, no pills, no injections or surgery. Eat real food, lose weight, look and feel your very best. That feeling is just on the other end of your 15-minute consultation. What's the secret? Call Eastside Weight Loss Clinic and they'll tell you. 425-588-0080 is the phone number, or go to eastsideweightlossclinic.com. It worked for me, and I promise if you do it, it can work for you as well. eastsideweightlossclinic.com or 425-588-0080.
Dr. Ryan Coogan, D.C. Results may vary.
Free consultations, no fee guarantees, 5-star reviews. J.P. Pendergast with Pendergast Law explains the importance of going beyond these familiar offerings.
Accident victims want an attorney, Tom, that satisfies their needs. Someone who handles those needs with the highest degree of care. Pendergast Law offers the no-fee guarantees and free consultations, but these only scratch the surface.
Okay, explain more.
We make sure that every member of our team is genuinely passionate about helping others. Customer service and communication are our top priority. It's how we take care of our clients so they always feel one step ahead of the insurance companies. Our strong reputation for high standards provides comfort and confidence when it's needed most.
Pendergast Law offers the free consultations, the no-fee guarantees, and, of course, they are 5-star rated. But what really makes them different is their genuine passion for helping others. I can't recommend them enough.
If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
That's PendergastLaw.com.
Let's go!
This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports. Seattle Sports Snapshot.
Celtics center Kristaps Porzingis, who played through a leg injury during Boston's championship run, will miss the Olympics and instead undergo surgery. He was set to compete for Team Latvia in Paris. The Mariners dropped an ugly game to the Rays in their series opener yesterday, but you know how you bounce back with a win today and tomorrow. First pitch today is at 3:50 p.m. Then you got an early one tomorrow for that series finale. It's a 9:10 a.m. first pitch.
Snapshot, brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time.
This is Bump and Stacy
On Seattle Sports.
streaming through the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Michael Bumpus and Stacy Ross.
Here we go now.
Curtis Rogers in for Michael Bumpus today and tomorrow. And Curtis, I got to be honest about something. We're friends, so I feel like I can say this without hurting your feelings. You seem like a nerd. You know what I mean? Like, you just give that vibe.
Guess we're not friends anymore.
Did you?
No, I can understand.
You probably did not fear, this is why I say it, when you were in high school or college. You probably didn't fear testing or you know, any kind of pop quiz or whatever. You were probably like, yeah, push your glasses up your nose. No,
the pop quizzes I did all right on.
Okay.
The big, huge assessments.
Still get a little nervous?
Not a fan of those.
Okay, well, I hope the Mariners are a fan of them because that's exactly what we're doing. We're 81 games into a 162-game season, meaning it's time for midterms. So get ready to text in some of your grades, some of your answers, as we all act as professors here for the Seattle Mariners. 866-979-3776 is the Mac and Jack's text line, so let's get to it. Curtis, do you want to do overall grade first or last?
I think we could do overall grade first.
Yeah, and then we'll kind of explain our reasoning.
It's like when you go into your teacher's office hours and you're like, teach, explain why I got a 64%. Like this can't happen. And then your teacher explains and walks you through it, and you're like, oh, I can see why I got a 64% on this. Not to say that the Mariners are a D right now.
No, but sometimes you're given a grade that, doesn't make sense to you, and your job is to go in there and cry and explain why you deserve a better grade.
And then ask your professor, can I just change this to a pass-fail course instead of anything that'll...
We already got our degrees. You can't take them away.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so what was your overall grade?
My overall grade for this Mariners team through 81 games, the exact midpoint of the season, is a C+.
C's get degrees.
They do.
You know what I mean? Go Cougs.
And well, neither of us are Cougs.
Neither of us are Cougs.
We can make that joke today. The Mariners are in first place through 81 games. If I had told you that in spring training, I think we all would have been okay with that. Not only are they in first place, they're in first place by, 5.5 games? Now, they were 10 games up about a week ago. So that's concerning to me. I don't like that.
So they did have a B grade at some point.
They did at one point, yeah. But then they got sloppy.
Yep.
Their Scantron sheet, they put C for every answer.
Did you even use a
five.
number 2 pencil? This looks like a purple pen.
Exactly. You can't be doing that on a test. But I have them right now as a C+ through 81 games. And that puts them in a decent spot, I think, to improve in the season second half. But they could definitely have done a lot better in the first half, which is saying a lot because they have a 5.5 game lead in first.
Because of that divisional lead and because of what the pitching has been so far this year, I also A, graded on a curve, and B, gave them a B. I went B- on this one. I felt bad giving them a C- because I have had so much fun talking about this team this year. Granted, have I probably pulled hair out of my head physically watching them strike out a million times in a game? Yeah. Yeah. Was it tough watching them get
harm?
Yeah. Was it tough watching them get 3 hits yesterday? I know 2 of them are home runs, but tough watching them get 3 hits when you had opportunities to drive in runners in a close game. Yeah. Yeah, that was tough. I don't like it. It's not always an enjoyable experience, but for the exact same reasons that you were kind of giving them some points, I maybe gave them a few extra, which is you have got a divisional lead that you've managed to hang on to. This is not the divisional lead we were staring at last season where we had like 2 days to brag about being ahead of the Astros and then they just surpassed you.
Right.
It was so fun. It was so fun.
I remember that, especially trash talking the Astros who had not been in first place at all through the season's first 4 months. It had been Texas for the majority of that. Then the Mariners leapfrogged both teams for just the tiniest portion. We're like, wow, Astros know what it's like to be in first place much? I guess not.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
They ended up winning the division.
It's because we only had 48 hours to talk trash, and we knew it, so we really went for it. I've gotten it all out of my system during this. It's kind of nice. Like I don't necessarily expect them to hang on to a lead, but I think it's possible, and that in itself is shocking. Having a lead this early in a season for the first time since 2003, having at one point a 10-game lead. I know it's gone away. Having, and we'll get to, the parts where we break down the milestones and the interesting things, but having some stuff that I think they can hang their hat on and be really proud of this season and recognize that they have an identity as a team is really huge. So having established that identity, having done something very well through the bulk of the season, and having a solid divisional lead, I could not grade lower than a B-. But I am also a nice, kind person.
Yeah. Well, and you
don't have to say well.
You said you graded on a curve. So really, their B- under a normal grading scale, would that be like a C-?
If this league was
if the AL West, if the Rangers and Astros are better right now.
Well, no, what it is if this league was only the Yankees, Orioles, Royals, and Guardians, the Mariners would have an F. But
it's not.
They're like the 5th team behind those guys, so I'm okay with it. It's not. You've got the White Sox in here being like,
they're the glue eaters in the back of the classroom,
just sniffing glue, and you're like, is this his 5th time repeating this class?
That guy drove to school and we're in 8th grade. Yeah.
I thought he was the janitor. Like I didn't realize he was a student back here. Poor White Sox. All right, so you can send in your grades or you can send in your answers as we go through a couple of these categories. So we're going to start with biggest need. I kept it simple, Curtis. A bat that can hit balls.
Yeah, a banger that bangs, a masher that mashes.
That's what I think. A raker that rakes.
You got to have it. You got to have it in this lineup because right now, like you mentioned, Stacey, 3 hits yesterday. You get, barely any production outside of game 2 of that Marlins series. It just has been the biggest frustration with this team through 81 games is this lineup that has just not been able to shake what we thought was maybe just an April or May thing around here. We're now a week away from July.
Yeah.
It's 81 games, I think, can tell you a lot about a team, and it's no fluke the Mariners offense being what it is this deep into the season. I think this is a problem that needs addressing pretty dang soon.
Yeah, I don't think you can. I think it's possible to say something like maybe Julio is a guy who has slow starts, though it feels like that loses a lot of weight and a lot of evidence when you say maybe the Mariners are a team that has a slow start. Like, I have lost any faith that the offense can suddenly go God mode just because it's 80 degrees outside.
Yeah, and when they do, it's usually just from one game at a time. You rarely see them put up 6, 7, 8 runs in consecutive games. I think there was that one series they had where we bet donuts on it, where it was, 4 runs every game, and it happened.
Yeah.
But, 4 runs is such a simple ask, I feel like, in baseball.
Yeah.
And it was so surprising when they did it that you hope that at some point in the second half, when the weather heats up around here and balls are flying out of T-Mobile Park at a much higher rate, that they can put up more runs consistently.
It is worth mentioning, though, that if you go to Baseball Savant, their expected batting average is still the lowest in the league, meaning even though they do these other things kind of well, like their exit velo is really solid. And I was looking at their hard hit percentage, which is really good. Enough other factors are such that they aren't, with all of those stats, expected to be that great at getting balls in play.
They're just hitting it right at people.
Yeah, like they're just doing a few things so poorly that even the things they do well don't make, whatever formula Baseball Savant uses, think that they're going to have really solid averages.
Now, you mentioned a bat that can hit balls, a banger that bangs, and I think that is the biggest need on this team.
Yeah. You can do secondary, though.
I'm going to do secondary.
Okay.
Oh, you just wait and see.
Oh, I will do that.
It's pitching. And that's crazy to think about, considering how good the starters have been for the most part this season, especially at home. But with the Brian Wu injury yesterday, with Emerson Hancock banged up down in AAA, you don't have many reinforcements right now for that starting staff. You've got Dallas Keuchel, who I don't think is on the 40-man roster right now down in AAA. He's got a ton of starting experience at the major league level, was a former Cy Young Award winner. You've got maybe Logan Evans. I know they moved into the bullpen, but there's a possibility that with how big of a need right now pitching is for this Mariners ball club, maybe you move him back into the starting rotation, kind of undo all the relief work that he's done over the last couple of weeks. Because right now, Stacey, I mean, if you're going to get to the playoffs, if this Mariners team is going to make it to October, you need 5 starting pitchers. You need 6 starting pitchers probably, and they don't have that right now, at least 6 that they can consistently count on to stay healthy. They've got 4, I think, but even then, it's
you need to be elite
ground.
at your thing that you do well, and then hope that your offense can be enough. So if you look at like the Rangers were, I think, a better team than they got credit for, even though they were kind of a weird team last year. Their offense was best in the league in several different categories. Not every category, but in several different categories. And that didn't change in the playoffs. Like, they were still a really good offensive team in the postseason. Their bullpen was a mess. Their starting pitching was inconsistent. It was more consistent than not in the postseason. But then the thing they did well also didn't drop off. So what the Mariners need when you're kind of a lopsided team, in this case it's the opposite, is your offense is not going to be an offense that sustains peak performance for an extended period of time, for going through 3 series, for 5-7 game series. You need your offense to be just good enough, but then for the thing you do well to continue to perform, because that's what ultimately needs to carry you when it matters. Like the Rangers, they won a World Series because Uvalde and Montgomery had really good starts and did really good things, but also because their offensive stars still played out of their minds.
Yeah, Seager and Semien and Adolis Garcia.
Right. So your pitching when you get to the postseason still needs to be elite.
Absolutely. You don't win a World Series without elite pitching. Like, you can have a bad bullpen. The Rangers showed us last year that can still you can still win a World Series even if your bullpen's not locking games down. But the difference, I think, between last year's Rangers team and this year's Mariners team is that the Rangers last year were winning games by multiple runs, and when you get out to a big lead, if your bullpen gives up 1 or 2 runs along the way, it doesn't hurt as bad as if you're in these tight games night in and night out.
I'm going to go through 3 different categories. Professor Curtis, tell me if you've got satisfactory or unsatisfactory.
Okay.
We've got some nice pass-fail grades here. Everyone likes that. Starting pitching.
Satisfactory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bullpen. I said satisfactory.
I will say satisfactory by the slimmest of margins. I would love for there to be a little more than just Ryan Stanek and Andres Munoz at the end of games.
Fair. Offense.
Unsatisfactory.
Yeah.
The offense is, hey, maybe you need to go to study hall a little bit more. What are your study habits like on offense? That's kind of what you're asking
offense
the student.
Can we talk to your parents?
Yeah, is there an issue
is
at home?
Okay at home?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've noticed that you're wearing these cheap Fanatics jerseys. Is
everything okay?
Is everything okay?
You've been getting to school late every day.
Yeah.
Are you fine?
Yeah, the offense right now is it's not satisfactory, and I don't think that should be a shock to anybody.
No, and I think I've started to see fewer and fewer texts of people going, well, I don't know, they're in first place, so I'm cool with it, and more people going, yeah, I didn't like watching that game. I didn't like it.
That's the thing too, is that a lot of these, 2-1, 3-2 games, they will test your mettle throughout, where it's just like white knuckling all the way through. I would love for the Mariners to have a 6-0 win, a 7-0 win, an 8-0 win. They nearly had that against what was it? What was the game on that Saturday?
Win.
Well, yeah, they had 9-0 on Saturday. What was the game where they nearly blew it with Bizzardo? They were up 7-1.
God.
I think it was against. It was a Saturday. I forget who.
I think that's when Bum came in and he was like, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Last one, just for a little bit of positivity, is milestones. Being able to look at your team and say, you know what, this is something they should be proud of. How about more of this? I thought it was very obvious what the answer for this should be, and that would be the historic run that they had. They were the first team in MLB history to record 15 consecutive starts with no more than 2 earned runs, at least 4 strikeouts, and that is by no slim margin. So that stretch where they were just bam, bam, bam. Kirby gives up maybe 2 runs. Logan gives up 1 run. Castillo gives up 1 run. Then you get a shutout, like just where you kept thinking, this can't last. And then they'd have another quality start. That was, to me, a milestone for this club. They were the first club to reach 20 quality starts. They were leading in quality starts. Like, they were the first club to have 3 pitchers, have all of their pitchers have 3? No. 3 pitchers have 5? I don't remember. Look.
It was they
were racking them up. And that, to me, was a huge milestone for the franchise, for the club this year, and why I think you still make that your primary focus, your primary goal.
Yeah, I think my biggest thing that I'm pleased with this Mariners team is their 17-5 record against the American League West. Those are the teams that you've got to be stacking wins against right now, and they have definitely done that. They're 10-3 against Houston and Texas combined, the 2 teams that you are likely in, the best, or that you're going to be competing with the most over the course of the rest of the season. So you have put yourself in a really good spot in terms of any sort of tiebreak scenario with those 2 teams. You've got about half of your schedule done with Houston and Texas. So you just got to be able to replicate that or come close to replicating that in the season's second half, and you've got those tiebreaks secured.
The 4-2-5, I can tell you right now, this offense, not a pleasure to have in class. Did you ever get a bad grade or a bad review or a bad thing where, like, you were the problem kid?
I got some bad grades. I don't think I ever got, like, any sort of
disciplinary, like, this kid's
like
the problem in class.
No, yeah. I failed chemistry in my junior year of high school. Had to retake that.
Oh no, I failed French.
I'm not a science person.
Yeah,
That's
I'm not
just
a French
me.
person.
It's true. So look
I
at
want
us.
nothing to do with them. Team USA this July. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing this to make up for that failed grade.
Chemistry, schmemistry. Okay.
Exactly. Let's get to headline rewrites.
Extra, extra, read all about it.
Headline rewrites.
We must make headlines.
The real story behind the headlines in today's news with Bump and Stacy.
Headline number 1, the Florida Panthers survived the Oilers series comeback and won the Stanley Cup in Game 7 last night. What's the real headline?
Congrats to the Panthers on their first ever Stanley Cup. But more importantly, congrats to the Panthers on avoiding becoming a running joke for the next decade.
That's right.
This would have been their 28-3.
Oh,
This would have been their, like, that Falcons offense that year was amazing.
It was.
It was a phenomenal team. All anyone remembers is 28-3. That
That's
would have been the
facts.
Panthers moment. It would have been mortifying.
This is all their franchise would have been known for.
Especially after not having won before. It's their
Yeah.
first Stanley Cup, which is very cool, but you would have been the franchise that was great and then let it all go.
Yes. It is so hard to win just one of these, and the Panthers were able to withstand the Oilers' comeback. 30 years now, the country of Canada has gone without winning a Stanley Cup. I saw Roger Sherman, who formerly was with The Ringer. I think he just covers college football now on his own. But he had a really funny tweet about Canada's Stanley Cup drought. He said, important to note, Canada's 30-year Stanley Cup drought has nothing to do with Canadian hockey talent. They have key players all over the league. It's because Canadian fans are less knowledgeable and passionate about hockey and provide worse home ice advantages than the states of Florida and Nevada. Because before the Golden Knights won their Stanley Cup, you had the Lightning go back-to-back.
Yeah.
You had the Panthers now.
It is crazy, though, with how many, as you mentioned, and as the tweet mentioned, Canadian players are in the league, Canadian coaches are in the
They're
league.
all over
like,
the place,
it's such a huge part of the sport. More cultural relevance there, and yet there's that drought. You know why?
That's right.
A.
That's right.
I'm
3
gonna
letters,
be
baby.
So obnoxious.
I
this
also
July.
saw a tweet say, and this is true, that an American team has won the CFL's Grey Cup more recently than a Canadian team has won the Stanley Cup.
Look.
They don't even have American teams in the CFL anymore.
Remember, it's funny becoming just obnoxiously patriotic over the most random things, which is what I and many sports fans
We've
do.
got 4th of July coming up,
No,
and then
I was-
after that is the Olympics.
Yes, we're going to be insufferable. But do you remember that cricket team when, like, was it cricket when there was a U.S. team that came together because people were saying, like, oh, you guys can't do this. And then they were like,
I think they beat like Pakistan or something
yeah.
like
And then
that.
they were like, we literally just created this team and then
now
won it. And people
really
were like,
good.
yeah, and people were like, dang, Team USA.
Headline rewrites.
Headline number 2, J.J. Redick says he and LeBron James will not continue their podcast following the Lakers' hire of Redick as their new head coach. What's the real headline?
To be fair, a 30-something-year-old white guy choosing not to do a podcast is actually
That's
pretty
right.
historic.
That's
That is,
right.
you know what? That's something special.
Standing out to you, J.J.
Every day I choose not to get an iced coffee and a Diet Coke and put it in my Stanley Cup. That's a win.
Have you ever...
You know, when we fight against our stereotypes.
Have you ever had a friend or friends come up to you and be like, hey, we're starting a podcast,
Yes.
and you look at both of them and you have to fake enthusiasm?
Oh, okay. So no, I've had
over
friends say like we, like including
you
me, should
and
start a
me.
podcast. I have never had someone that I think should absolutely not be doing a podcast come up and say that they're starting one. None of my friends have like equipment to do that.
Right.
So they're not.
I think that's the issue, is that podcast equipment not that expensive anymore. So people see it and they're like, oh, this is all you need, right?
Now, have you ever tried to look up a podcast? So I love listening to podcasts, for instance, for shows that I watch. Like I listen to, I think the HBO official House of the Dragon podcast, which I don't know anyone who calls it House of the Dragon. It's dragons, it's Game of Thrones, it's House of Dragons. I don't even know if that's the name of the show. But I do listen to a podcast for that. I love podcasts for all my Bravo shows. I tried to find podcasts for this other reality show that I watch, and that's when I discovered, and I don't even want to say the show because I don't want to.
That they don't have a podcast?
Well, no. there's no like official podcast for it, but that's when I got into bad podcasting. And I was like, oh my God, there are at least 5 of these where like none of these people should have podcasts.
There is nothing worse than listening to a bad podcast.
Well, or when people kind of make believe play like just bad pacing with it. Like you can tell that they're like, I've listened to so many podcasts that I'm just mimicking what I think this should sound like. Mm-hmm. And it's just painful.
Or they don't have like any sort of inflection in their voice. They just kind of talk quietly the whole time.
Oh, see, no, those are my true crime podcasts. Jessica didn't realize that in 2 hours she would be dead. Like there's just no, you know what I mean? Those are my road trip podcasts. I love a true crime podcast. God, I did it again.
Headline rewrites.
Headline number 3, Brian Wu left his latest start with a hamstring injury. What's the real headline?
So there's 2. One is mine, which is, do the Mariners need to add a starter? Boring.
Okay, that's a fair question.
The other one was Matt's, who, when Brian Wu came back and had an amazing start, his was more like Brian Wu who. Matt, do you want to deliver this headline rewrite?
Brian Boo-hoo.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Oh, no. Someone said, so Stacey has more Stanley Cups than Canada in the past 30 years.
That's true.
I have.
You got 2?
I have 3.
3?
Yeah, well, I really wanted the white cream colored one.
Okay.
And then Derek got me a purple one. And then Jake got, when he and Brooke got us Christmas presents. Yeah, I have a gold one. So
wow.
It's almost
really
not
do.
enough.
You got 3 cups.
I have 3 Stanley Cups.
And we saw the real one
And
about
I
a year
keep
ago.
seeing new colors, and I want them.
Do you think the actual Stanley Cup should come in different colors instead of just silver?
That's a great, yeah. Yes, I do. Or I think Stanley should partner with Stanley, like NHL and the Stanley Cup, and come out with a Stanley
Team-branded
Cup.
ones? Yeah.
Like a Stanley Cup Cup.
I think that could work.
I think that would be really cool. Don't forget, for the 3rd year, Seattle Sports is partnering with the Seattle chapter of WISE, that's Women in Sports and Events, to recognize the women in our community through the Women of Inspiration Awards. So if you know a woman who gives her all to the sports and events community, it's time to celebrate her. Learn more at woiseattle.org. Coming up, we'll tell you why the NL is messing up the trade deadline and why one AL team could bust it open.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
You know him, you love him. John Morosi is here.
Weekdays 2 to 7.
The Rays are the potential seller that I'm watching most carefully as a possible fit for the Mariners, a frequent trading partner of the Seattle Mariners over time. Yandy Diaz, Isak Paredes, Randy Arozarena, especially Yandy Diaz, a pure bat-the-ball guy who I think could be available if the Rays stay in that 4th place position or 5th place position.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Hey, it's Mike Salk here for Window Nation. If you haven't had a chance to take advantage of their semi-annual sale, you are in luck because they've extended it. Get 50% off all windows with no interest for 5 years and a bonus 10% savings when you schedule an estimate now. If your old windows are costing you too much for AC, that's a big deal. And now during Window Nation's semi-annual sale, you can replace them and save big. This offer ends June 30th, so schedule your in-home estimate now. Call 866-90-NATION or go to windownation.com.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single line 1, 5, and 10 gig data plans with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plans offered by T-Mobile and Verizon January 2024.
When you use Bounce dryer sheets and your clothes look amazing, it's the sheet. Less static in your life? Yeah, it's the sheet. Smelling fresher than ever? It's the sheet. Oh, so soft fabric? Ooh la la. It's the sheet. Less wrinkles on your clothes? You know it's the sheet. Bounce dryer sheets. More freshness, more softness. Less static, less wrinkles. It's the sheet.
I'm Bradley Johnson with 1-800-DUI-AWAY, and I want to wish you a happy Independence Day. The 4th of July is my favorite. It's about family, gratitude, patriotism, and amazing exploding lights in the sky. Perhaps I love it most because it's called Independence Day. I love to fight for my clients' independence. Your right to drive, to provide for your family, your right to do stuff. You feel liberty most when you lose it. Remember buying a box of bottle rockets and salute shells with nothing more than a "have fun, kids"? Well, things have changed since then, including the consequences of a DUI. We're your safe and sane solution to keep freedom ringing. Call 1-800-DUI-AWAY or go to 1-800-DUI-AWAY.com. Red, white, and blue are the colors of freedom, unless they're flashing behind you. 1-800-DUI-AWAY.
1-800-DUI-AWAY. Everyone loves a road trip. Start yours at the Harnish Auto Family Road Trip Sales Event. Hey, Brock Hewitt here, and this month, the Harnish Auto Family is offering a chance to win a $500 road trip package from Sportco and Outdoor Emporium. Test drive any vehicle and enter for your chance to win. No purchase necessary. Just stop by your favorite dealership, Volkswagen of Puyallup, Subaru of Puyallup, Kia of Everett, Chevrolet Buick GMC of Puyallup, or Chevrolet of Everett, and take a test drive for your chance to win. HarnishAutoFamily.com. People matter. See dealership for details.
Guys, did you know your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED? And right now, Revive Men's Health Seattle will check your testosterone for free. They've helped thousands of men since 2011 feel and perform better. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Schedule your free testosterone test, exam, and consultation today. Call 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Headed outdoors or on the water this weekend? Check in with Joey and Nellie on the Outdoor Line from 6 to 8 a.m. every Saturday on SeattleSports.com.
Wayscar Ford, Isuzu in Auburn is celebrating 102 years of serving its customers. I'm here with my friend Mark Clymer. And Mark, I might give you a hard time and say, do you remember when you guys first started?
Yes, I remember, young lady, when it started. No, of course not. But yeah, I've been around a while, and 102 years is something special. And it's quite a milestone. And it's because of the service that we give our customers. So every car that we sell comes with a 5-day or 500-mile, 100% money-back guarantee. Change your mind for any reason, not a problem. Bring it back for a full refund. If I sell you a car and you want to bring it back as you change your mind and I don't take it back, are you ever going to do business with me again? Or your friends, your families, your coworkers? Of course not. You're our most precious asset. We want to take care of you. Come down and see us. It's our giant 102nd year anniversary sale. Great prices and great people.
With that kind of attention, that kind of care, no wonder it's been 102 years. That's Wayscar Ford, Isuzu in Auburn, wayscarford.com.
Endless hours of research, seeking referrals, dozens of calls. Hiring the right attorney can be a challenging process during an already difficult time. J.P. Pendergast with Pendergast Law explains.
In Washington State, Tom, there are thousands of attorneys to choose from. Referrals and online research can be helpful, but discovering the right attorney requires a conversation. It can be hard to identify integrity and authenticity without that interaction.
So, what do you recommend?
We encourage anyone looking for personal injury representation to call for a free consultation with our team before making a decision simply based on referrals or online research. Accident victims need an attorney that listens, demonstrates honesty, and is genuinely understanding of their unique circumstances. The care, attention, and preparation that our firm provides throughout the case mirrors the effort involved when taking on the insurance companies.
Save time and avoid mistakes after an injury. Contact the caring and compassionate team at Pendergast Law.
If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
This is Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
You know when you have that one friend who takes the longest time getting ready and you're like, oh my God, you're making all of us late. That's the National League. It's through no fault of their own. It's just good baseball. The Phillies absolutely dominating in the NL, 52-26 right now. Dodgers holding it down for the West. The Brewers in the Central at 46-33. Then you got the Braves, Cardinals, Padres holding on to those 3 wild card spots. This league is so close right now that the Diamondbacks, Nationals, and Mets are all 1.5 games out of the 3rd wild card spot. So Jeff Passan was taking a look at, obviously, these standings in the trade market and decided that, you know what, this is kind of holding everything up for everyone else. The National League is being a little difficult right now. So we're going to start with that, Curtis. Because there is one National League team that matters, the Mets.
Right. We want what they've got.
And that's Pete Alonso.
It
Not
is.
everyone wants what they got, but some people do.
I mean, if it turns out that Pete Alonso ends up being a Mariner, I don't think anybody can complain about that because that's the Mariners showing that they really do care about making this thing a little more well-rounded. But yeah, the National League right now just really jamming things up. They are those people that like to rubbernecking when there's a crash on the side of the road. They will slow
like stop
down
and look,
and then it backs up everything behind them.
I'm those people.
Everything behind them being the trade market. But I think there is one team that kind of can really, they hold a lot of cards in this, and it's not a team in the National League. It's a team that is currently in the midst of a 7-game losing streak, the longest in Major League Baseball. They're 7.5 out of the wild card, and they are 16 back in their division.
That's a tough division,
It
too.
is, and I'm talking about the Toronto Blue Jays, Stacey.
Exactly. Jeff Passan talking about how the Blue Jays could kind of open this thing up. He says whether or not they go half measure or all out on selling is going to determine how interesting this gets. Oh, sorry, this isn't playing. Matt, would you mind playing cut 20 for me?
And the question there will be, okay, is it Yusei Kikuchi and maybe Chris Bassett, or is it them and Vladimir Guerrero and Bo Bichette? Like, do they go half measure or do they go full sell? And that, I think, is going to really determine just how exciting and intriguing the rest of this trade deadline is, because with Guerrero and Bichette, they've got the goods. And with the other guys, they're just trying to take advantage of a market that otherwise is not all that exciting.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Imagine Vladimir Guerrero Jr. getting traded to an NL team who's 1.5 back or who's right in that wild card spot. He wouldn't be going to the Padres. But imagine a team like that who could really push for a series lead. Imagine him going to a team like the Mariners, Curtis, currently holding their divisional lead, though in danger of losing it, and who badly need a bat.
Yeah, they have so much power that they wield right now in Toronto. They could get pretty much anybody that they want in return for Guerrero, just based off of how little amount of teams that are in obvious sell situations are willing to do business right now. Mm-hmm. I look at the National League, and not just those teams that are within a game and a half, but you've also got the Cubs that are like 3 back in the wild card, even though they have been pretty horrible over the last couple of months. The Giants are 3 back. The Pirates are an interesting team in that they've got a really good rotation. They're just 2.5 back. I mean, you've got the majority of the National League, basically everybody but the Marlins and Rockies still alive in this thing. That's going to muddy things up in a big way, considering that half of baseball is essentially in it, plus all the other teams in the American League. I look at this trade market right now, Stacey, and man, if I'm the Blue Jays, I think right now would be the best time to sell.
Well, yeah, look at how many buyers you could have. And then if
Yeah.
you're, meanwhile, a team looking to buy, your potential purchasing options have been cut in half. Like, are the Mets going to sell when they're 1.5 back? Are the
Right.
Reds going to sell when they're 2.5? Are the Pirates going to sell when they're 2.5?
Giants.
Right, exactly. I mean, yeah, the Giants 3 back. And I know that, you look at the Giants at, 37 wins and think you're not going to catch up to the Dodgers at 49. Could you catch up to the Padres, though, at 42? Yeah, you could knock them out.
Right.
You got enough games against them. So if you're the Mariners now, let's put ourselves in Jerry Dipoto and Justin Hollander's shoes. You're looking at the National League going, I'm not seeing a lot of potential sellers here.
Right. And of the teams that are bad, not a lot of them have pieces that you want.
Anyone want someone from the Rockies?
I mean, maybe Ryan McMahon, but outside of that, no. There's nobody on the Rockies that I would want. The Marlins, the same thing. And then in the American League, the A's don't really have anybody. The Angels, you've never done business with Jerry Dipoto as your GM. Your options are limited. Your options are very limited in what you can do right now in terms of acquisition.
So if you're the Mariners, let's go to the Blue Jays. We talked about Pete Alonso and kind of whether or not we'd want that short-term option. We've talked at length about Luis Robert, obviously from the White Sox. you've been kind of on the fence about Vlad, whether or not you'd really go all out for him. I think that you've kind of made the point of, I think because he's a recognizable name, people are really, really intrigued, but it doesn't mean that he can't help you. What's your take on whether or not the Mariners should go big for Vlad?
I think if Pete Alonso doesn't become available, then you have to shift. And I think Vlad Guerrero Jr. is that guy you shift to, especially if you're looking for first base pop. He's actually the best bat in the Blue Jays lineup this season. He's having a pretty decent season. An OPS of 796 right now, OPS plus of 129. Hit a 470-foot home run last night at Fenway Park.
Hit it to the moon.
His power is undeniable. Like, he's absolutely going to mash, in terms of just distance on his home runs. But outside of Guerrero, I mean, Bichette is on the 10-day IL right now, and he has struggled mightily this season. Another name maybe offensively that you look at would be Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who has a lot of positional flexibility, can play everywhere in the infield, including catcher. I don't know if they would be willing to part with him. Justin Turner, another guy who I think was mentioned in terms of like third baseman this past offseason that the Mariners could have interest in. But outside of those guys, there's just not a lot to pick from offensively from that Blue Jays team. Maybe you try and get one of their pitchers. I don't know how much or how willing they're going to be or how involved they're going to be on the pitching market. Kevin Gausman is an interesting name. Yusei Kikuchi, obviously, a very familiar name around here. But I think Vlad Guerrero Jr. Of the Blue Jays is very much the only guy on that team that I would be like gung-ho for if they do try to go make a trade that way.
Now, Jeff Passan thinks this is going to be an extreme seller's market that will really, really test the Mariners. He also doesn't think it's impossible, disagrees that Dipoto and the Angels would never make a trade, and explains why he thinks that. All of that's coming up at 11. We're going to take a break from Mariners talk to talk about something Seahawks related, kind of. This could really apply to any team, and I'm going to start with a question for listeners. You can respond on the Mac and Jack's text line, 866-979-3776. There's one trait that Leslie Frazier says can really, really lead to team success, team and individual success. One important trait. Guess what that trait is? It's coming up next.
Seattle Sports is your exclusive home for Mariners baseball.
That baby is out of here!
Every strikeout.
Swing and a miss for strike three. Bryce Miller caps his day of 7 scoreless.
Every home run.
Goodbye baseball, he did it! Julio Rodriguez.
Every Mariners win.
And Mitch Haniger, just like the old days. He wins it for the Mariners in the 10th inning.
Stream every game at seattlesports.com or on the Seattle Sports app. We are Seattle Sports.
Tingling and numbness or burning pain in the feet or hands are warning signs of peripheral neuropathy. For years, Sound Pain Solutions has helped thousands using our innovative, narcotic-free approach. Now we're excited to introduce our most powerful treatment yet. I'm Dr. Mark Shelley, a chiropractic physician and functional neurologist at Sound Pain Solutions. We've discovered a new bioelectrical treatment that produces remarkable results. Studies show 85% of neuropathy sufferers report a 50% reduction in pain. Our new therapy can reduce pain and regenerate damaged nerves. It's performed by medical providers and naturopathic physicians. It's a breakthrough treatment that has changed the lives of thousands who suffer from nerve pain. At Sound Pain Solutions, all our therapies are non-surgical, FDA-cleared, and narcotic-free. Learn if you qualify for our new neuropathy treatment. Schedule a free consultation by visiting soundpainsolutions.com. soundpainsolutions.com.
Rick Riz here for the Pella Windows and Doors of Western Washington's Improve Your Play program. Many of our local youth sports teams need help with field enhancements, training, and equipment. Local Pella owners Keith Dashafy and Luke Wilson are stepping up to donate $5,000 to 2 deserving teams. We need your help finding them. Head to seattlesports.com/play to nominate a deserving team in need. Let's help our local youth improve their play this year with Pella Windows and Doors of Western Washington. Contest and rules at seattlesports.com/play.
Let's face it, nothing makes you look older than you really are than thinning hair. But what if you could not only increase your hair count, but promote new hair growth without surgery, without drugs with potential side effects, and without a prescription from your doctor? Well, now you can, thanks to a breakthrough new supplement called Hair Grow. Provided by New Nordic, the #1 supplier of dietary supplements in Europe. Hair Grow is now available in the U.S. Only Hair Grow contains Tocogaya, a powerful antioxidant that has received a U.S. patent. Multiple clinical studies show Hair Grow is safe and effective in promoting new hair growth. In one study, 95% of the patients using Hair Grow saw increased hair count. Don't lose more time and more hair. Try Hair Grow today to feel and look your best. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or in stores at your local CVS. Look younger and feel more confident with Hair Grow by New Nordic at NewNordicUSA.com or in stores at your local CVS.
Mike Salk here for Riverside Roofing LLC.com, where you can enter your address and receive a hassle-free quick quote on your roof replacement within seconds. Do it this spring and save time, money, and get your project done at Riverside Roofing LLC.com, the roofing company you can trust.
Don't miss the Seattle and Minnesota series this week. It's brought to you by Sound Credit Union. Visit soundcu.com or slide into a branch near you. Sound Credit Union, banking for all walks of life. SoundCU.com.
Bring your whole crew to the game with the Mariners Suite at T-Mobile Park. Whether you're planning a special birthday party for friends and family or a company outing for up to 400 coworkers, there's no better spot for an unforgettable experience. Enjoy the suite life with premium catering, VIP parking, private Skybridge entry, and more. Plus, season ticket members get 15% off. Reserve your suite today at mariners.com/suites.
And the pitch up the middle, JP! Wow! What a play! Game over!
Call or click 811 before you dig. Anything that causes you to roll up your sleeves a little and dig in requires you to first connect with 811. Call or click 811 and visit safeexcavator.com.
It's Dave Wyman for R&R Foundation Specialist. Your home's foundation supports everything that sits on top of it. You know, the most common cause of a settling foundation is a condition in the soil called differential settlement. It goes back to inconsistent soil compaction when your home was first built, which in turn causes your entire home to bend and twist. And what you'll notice in your home when that occurs, sloped floors, bowed or cracked walls, or windows and doors that don't open and close properly. R&R Foundation Specialist raises and restores settling foundations by repositioning the load of your home onto steel piers that they drive deep into the ground. Then they gently lift it back into place with a hydraulic lift. It's a permanent solution to restore your home's foundation and its structural integrity. If you suspect your foundation is settling, do what I did. Have R&R Foundation Specialist come out for free. They'll identify the issue, and they will resolve it. Schedule your free estimate at rrfoundationspecialist.com.
Lexus is electrified, and the first ever RZ450E has the performance and range to get you where you need to go with the exclusive Lexus Direct 4 all-wheel drive technology. Lexus of Bellevue has over 50 RZs available for immediate delivery with electrifying savings up to $17,000 lease cash on every RZ450E. Visit lexusofbellevue.com.
On approval of credit through LFS, lease cash from Lexus available on select 2024 RZ styles. Must take delivery by July 1st, 2024. A documentary service fee up to $200 may be added to the purchase price or capitalized costs. See dealership for details.
Oh no, your furnace died. Your hot water heater's leaking. Your drains are clogged. Your AC's blowing hot air. Inconveniences? No. They're emergencies. Don't fear. Call Deere Services. Visit DeereServices.net. Make an appointment, and we'll be there within 3 hours, or give you $100 credit. And get this, you will never pay a service fee. Bookmark DearServices.net, because if you're a homeowner, it'll happen to you someday. Deere Services, there when you need us most.
This is Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
If you were to choose one trait that would make an individual player, an individual coach, or a team successful, what trait would you choose? You can pick one trait. Leslie Frazier talked about it. 866-979-3776 if you want to get in your guess quickly here on the Mac and Jack's text line. So this was on the Move the Sticks podcast with Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks. It's a great listen. Highly recommend going back to listen to the entire interview. It's quick. The full podcast is like 37 minutes. And Leslie Frazier doesn't even talk for the entire time. So if you just want to hear Leslie, it's like a 20-minute listen. He talks about taking the job with Seattle, what the job entails, a bunch of stuff with defense. The stuff that he says about how to build a defense and what works for a defense, we're talking about in 4-down territory, so we are not done with this interview. But first, we're going to focus on one part of it, which is Leslie Frazier talking about the importance in his job and with being a player of being selfless?
I think it's so important, Bucket, to be a selfless individual. You have to really take the approach that I'm going to be a servant in this role, and you got to be egoless. You can't get caught up in my name not being out in front. When you're the coordinator, your name is on that offense or defense or special teams. It's all about you and your group. But it's a little bit different in this role. You're probably not going to be doing a lot of press conferences, post-game, pre-game. I mean, that's not going to be you. So you have to be a person that is okay with not getting the credit, but understanding your role, and your role being to help the team succeed without a lot of fanfare.
Simultaneously, Leslie and Mike McDonald are talking a lot to players about having that same approach, caring more about winning than individual stats.
One of the examples I gave when I was talking with the players, and when Mike asked me to speak, Kenny Walker, who's an outstanding running back with the Seahawks and has done a terrific job in his career. I said, there may come a time where Kenny may end up with 6 carries for 30 yards. But the Seahawks won the game. Can Kenny be good with that? Can he be okay with that and say, you know what? We won, man. And if we win, we're all going to benefit. And as you said, Daniel, it's harder to get that done than it is to say it. But if you can get a group of guys to buy into that, I mean, there's so much talent in the league. That's the intangible sometimes that gets you over the top.
Curtis Rogers in for Michael Bumpus. Curtis, what did you think of Frazier not just talking about how he needs to be selfless in his role as kind of being in the background, but also how important it is to teach players to be selfless?
Yeah. I mean, if you want to win a Super Bowl, you've got to be willing to sacrifice of yourself for the greater good, no matter what position it is you play on the team. And, I mean, you look at some of the greatest, I think, leaders in NFL history, a lot of them have been selfless. I mean, you look at what Kansas City's been able to do with Patrick Mahomes as their quarterback. That's a guy who you can tell players like playing with, where they're not, where they see him have success, and I don't think they're jealous of it. I think they're like, man, if that guy's playing well, then we're all playing well. Like, we got to lift him up and make sure that he's doing well. Same with like Tom Brady. I feel like he had a lot of teammates that were willing to bat for him over the years. And I get that their immense talent makes it a lot easier for guys to sacrifice of themselves to make sure that the team is winning. But I look at in the NBA too, guys like Steph Curry and Tim Duncan, where they were willing to, or where there had a lot of teammates that would go to bat for them. Not seeking individual statistics is so tough in the NFL when that is what a lot of like contract negotiations are based off of. Exactly. Certain benchmarks are huge in terms of securing that next contract in the NFL, which is what everybody is looking for. You want to get that second and third deal in the league. And I mean, he mentions like the 6 carries for 30 yards. Would Ken Walker be okay with that, or Zach Charbonnet or something like that? I mean, that is always us as fans, and us who are not in the locker room, us who are not, collecting these massive paychecks. We can all sit back and say, oh yeah, like I would definitely, sacrifice a couple carries here or there if it meant winning a Super Bowl. And it's like, yeah, sure, that's the noble thing. That's the easy thing to say when you're not the one impacted by it. But like, think of it as just your job. If you don't hit your quota, your personal quota at your job, but your company does, like, you still kind of feel like,
think of it as
I wish I could do more.
Attention. Like, I think it's such a human thing to want attention and praise and love and admiration, like truly a human thing. And it's so hard to push that feeling back when someone very close to you is getting a lot of it and you had a part in it.
Right.
And I think you're right. I love you pointing out that, like, we as non-players, non-coaches tend to look at it and go, obviously I would do that. Obviously I'd take a pay cut and do this.
Would you?
When it's like, you know what? I think we're all kind of denying the things that make us very human, which is jealousy, like sometimes self-righteousness. And also, like, imagine working so hard for something. You want the recognition and the reward and the payoff of doing that correctly or doing it well. If I this is probably more fitting for Curtis. If Curtis puts together a huge show, it's me and Bump, and Curtis.
We've got Roger Goodell in studio.
We got Roger Goodell. Like, Curtis gets the best guests. It knocks it out of the park, helping me with headline rewrites, and like one that he thought of as like the funniest one. Well, then me and Bump are getting all the praise, and we're doing a great job with these interviews, and it's all fine and dandy when Curtis put in a ton of work. And like, so think of that as like a normal person job, right? And I'm sure all of you can think of examples of, working at, some place where you feel like you do an outsized amount of work or whatever it is. And then like broaden that to a huge scale where your coworker is being put on a camera, oh my God, Zach Charbonnet, amazing game. And now Ken Walker's going to go, man, I gained 8 yards on first and second down before he got that touchdown.
Yeah. Like I was the one putting in the heavy lifting.
But that's how you have successful teams. You have to have people that aren't going to hold grudges. And I think it is so fitting that Leslie Frazier is telling players to do something he also has to do, right?
Yeah.
Because it's one thing when you're coming in and you're like getting all the praise, and it's Russell Wilson being like, okay, guys, we all fought for it, right? And you're like, you're getting paid $40 million.
Yeah.
But when it's Leslie Frazier, who's not going to be doing press conferences, he's not going to be, getting features, he's not going to be getting Coach of the Year, who's coming in telling guys, hey, I was here until midnight going over tape, and I'm telling you to grind it out just like I am, and we're not going to get thanked.
And we heard Tyler Lockett a couple weeks ago kind of talk about the freedom that Pete gave a lot of guys when he was head coach here. But also Tyler pointed out like that was kind of a double-edged sword because a lot of guys would take that freedom and run with it and not look out for others and kind of look out for themselves. I kind of wonder, like, what will Leslie Frazier, Mike McDonald's system look like in terms of player freedom? Because you've got to have guys that are willing to go to battle for, everybody else on the team. And if you let guys sort of look out for themselves more than the rest of the team, like that's going to be really tough to rein back in, because once you allow for that, then everybody's going to do it.
Yeah. It's a fascinating conversation. We are going to get back to it 11:15 when Leslie Frazier talks about how you build the perfect defense. Before we do, though, Jeff Passan explains why this market will really test the Mariners. That's next.
The Dugout. Go in depth with the Mariners.
Goodbye, baseball.
With voices like Rick Riz, Aaron Goldsmith, and Dave Sims.
This is a club that has the ability to go on another run.
You never know when a team is going to get hot.
This team's window is wide open.
Hear from the players and coaches, and go behind the scenes with insider Shannon Dreyer.
We are seeing him comfortable with where he is at the plate. We're seeing a guy that has his timing.
The Dugout. Tuesdays at 1 p.m. on Seattle Sports.
Well, this week's First Mark Challenge victory goes to Brandy Cruz. Hey, Brandy, why? Why First Mark Insurance?
Service. I wondered for a second whether I was getting the VIP treatment, and I kind of asked, hey, is this what you do for everyone? And they're like, of course. The whole First Mark Challenge is meant to be personal, right? So it really is tailored and meant to be a personal experience for every single person. I will say I've just done whatever is the quickest and cheapest type of insurance, and I realized while I was doing it, wow, this is what it feels like to get insurance as a real adult. We had a million questions, and they walked us through every step of the process, and then they're working for you. So they're not working for insurance companies, they're working for you. To experience that level of service really shows you what the difference is with First Mark.
Brandy did it. My family did it. You got to do it. It's totally free. Take the First Mark Challenge. See how much money they can save you and how much better your coverage will get. Maybe you will be our next First Mark Challenge victory. Go to firstmarkinsurance.com.
Hey, it's Amanda. With King LASIK, you can ditch the glasses and contacts and get LASIK from the Northwest's most experienced team. King LASIK has performed over 250,000 procedures. And this month, save $1,000. Start with a free Zoom consult at kinglasik.com.
Ready for some summer July 13th and 14th, presented by Boeing. 4 players to a team. 2 days of exciting action, 1 incredible tournament. Players of all ages and abilities are encouraged to come out and play. You must register your team by July 1st. Go to Everett3on3.net to sign up your team. That's Everett3on3.net. A special thank you to event sponsors City of Everett, Everett Downtown Storage, IRG Physical and Hand Therapy, and Swire Coca-Cola.
Want to listen to Seattle sports on your smart speaker?
Hey, smart speaker, play Seattle sports.
This message is powered by the EQC Sportsbook at Emerald Queen Casino. Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. 1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate your car today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car, running or not, can be picked up as soon as the next day. You'll get a maximum tax deduction and a vacation voucher.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
Hey, it's Dave Wyman with Dr. Mark Wagner, MD, from Seattle Sports and Regenerative Medicine. Dr. Wagner is hosting a free stem cell webinar this Wednesday night at 6 to explain how stem cell therapy works.
I'm really looking forward to this live webinar to educate on how using your own stem cells can be an extremely successful method to help regenerate native tissue in rotator cuffs, meniscus tears, and reduce pain in osteoarthritic joints.
And which joints have you seen good success with?
Shoulders, elbows, hips, knees, even wrists and ankles. And in this live webinar, we'll tell you all about the procedure, how simple and safe it is using your own stem cells, and how we determine if you're a candidate.
Dr. Wagner has performed over 20,000 stem cell procedures. Are you in pain? Join him this Wednesday night at 6 o'clock for the free stem cell webinar and learn all about this amazing procedure. Register now at drmarkwagnermd.com. That's drmarkwagnermd.com.
The best things in life, they come in twos. 2 scoops of ice cream, 2 tacos. And now for a limited time, get our best deal of the year. Buy any phone when you switch to Consumer Cellular and get 2 months of service free. That's right, the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage as Big Wireless, now with 2 months free. Proof the best things in life really do come in twos. Visit consumercellular.com or call 1-888-FREEDOM. Second and third month of monthly base service fee waived for new customers with the purchase of a phone and activation by July 31st, 2024. Taxes, fees, and third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
When you use Bounce dryer sheets and your clothes look amazing, it's the sheet. Less static in your life? Yeah, it's the sheet. Smelling fresher than ever? It's the sheet. Oh, so soft fabric? Ooh la la. It's the sheet. Less wrinkles on your clothes? You know it's the sheet. Bounce dryer sheets. More freshness, more softness. Less static, less wrinkles. It's the sheet.
Let's go!
This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports. Seattle Sports Snapshot.
Celtics center Kristaps Porzingis, who played through a leg injury during Boston's championship run, will miss the Olympics and instead undergo surgery. He was set to compete for Team Latvia in Paris. The Mariners dropped an ugly game to the Rays in their series opener yesterday, but you know how you bounce back? With a win today and tomorrow. First pitch today is at 3:50 p.m. Then you got an early start tomorrow for that series finale. It's a 9:10 a.m. first pitch.
Snapshot, brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time.
This is Bump and Stacy
On Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Michael Bumpus and Stacy Ross.
Here we go now. Jeff Passan explained why this market will test the Seattle Mariners. So we're talking about trades. We're talking about not just who the Mariners could acquire, but what they need as a team and whether or not they're going to have to make themselves very uncomfortable. Jeff Passan's full interview with Brock and Salk is on the Brock and Salk podcast. We're going to just play a couple excerpts from it, but you can go back and listen to that. I believe it's hour 3 of their show.
Yes.
Hour 3 of their show. So let's just go in order here. Jeff Passan starting by saying, the Mariners' road and home record is there's big difference there in those splits, but it's not to say they can't change it.
I don't know. I see great teams and they win everywhere. And this is not to suggest that the Mariners are incapable of winning on the road, right? They could go on a run here, but they play really well at home, and I wish I had a better reason for it. I almost feel like I want to talk to them and ask them and see if they have any sense of why, because it's a pretty stark difference.
Okay, so we did not start with the trade market here. Instead, we're starting with one thing currently plaguing the Mariners, which is, for some reason, their pitching especially, but as a team, they are just not as good on the road.
Right. They are significantly different away from T-Mobile Park than they are at home. 27-12 in Seattle this season, 18-24 away from home. And this road trip has definitely not done anything to quiet us talking about just how starkly different they are away from home. And last night, another gut punch loss, had a couple of those in Miami. I mean, you have 2 more opportunities to kind of right things before you come home this weekend. But, yeah, this team on the road, it signifies the importance of getting home playoff games because you don't want to see this team have to, try to make their hay on the road in the postseason. Get some home playoff games, and you'll set yourself up nicely.
And how do you get home playoff games, Curtis?
By winning those regular season games.
That's exactly right. By winning your division, by being a really good team, by earning home field advantage. And they're going to need to be a better team offensively. So maybe that means trading. Let's talk about when the trade market actually opens up.
There are teams, guys, that are starting to at least consider moving guys. And, I think Tampa Bay has had some of those discussions, even though they're, I believe, only a game under 500 at this point. I think Detroit has started to have those conversations, but none of them are moving yet because all it takes is one good week to get back into the race. Like that's literally what it is, especially in the National League. All it takes is one good week to put yourself in a playoff position. I think the interesting one is Toronto, right? They've lost 7 in a row.
So saying look, we talked about it earlier in the show, but the close race that's happening in the National League means that this could be a slower market to open. So maybe we don't start seeing moves with the Mariners, moves with any of these teams until late in July, closer to the deadline.
Yeah, and that would be kind of tough to see because that would mean another month of this.
And maybe this turns around. You never know. I mean, it's going to be tough. You have a 4th of July series coming up against the Orioles, but it's at home.
They've been great at home.
So you're right, though. It's a really good point of with Jeff implying that the trade market will be slow to open comes the understanding that means you're stuck with what you have for the time being.
Yeah, and I've read a lot of things Mariners fans have had to say on social media, Stacey. I don't know if they could handle another month.
Well, I mean, let's hope that they start to heat up.
They may not have any choice in the matter.
Well, and maybe they shouldn't. I'm sorry, not Mariners fans. By that, I mean, maybe it shouldn't be as much of, a tough choice about whether or not they add or what they do. It's almost like the better they do, the more incentive to add. The worse they do, the more incentive to add. It's no matter what, the Mariners should be feeling pressure to add. Jeff Passan saying that this will really test the Mariners because it's an extreme seller's market.
Oh, this is a seller's market. This is an extreme seller's market. The prices are going to be sky high, Brock. And, I think it's going to test a team like the Mariners. I think the question for them is going to be when you have the opportunity to get a Pete Alonso, right? I do think ultimately the Mets are going to be one of those teams in that band of 7 in the National League that do wind up selling. If you have the opportunity to get Pete Alonso, if potentially Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is out there, if Isaac Paredes is out there, do you get them or do you get Taylor Ward? And Taylor Ward, by the way, is a really good player and I think would be a good fit, frankly, for this Mariners team. but he's not that bopper in the middle of a good order.
So here's a summary of everything that Jeff Passan is saying, in case you're like, what are we talking about right now? Now we're talking about Pete Alonso. Jeff is saying that with how close the National League is, how many of these teams could have a shot at the playoffs, this is going to be a seller's market where there are going to be a lot of teams. Maybe it's the White Sox with Luis Robert. Maybe it's the Blue Jays with Vlad or Bo, if they decide to sell those guys, that are going to get a lot more than they normally would because there's just going to be fewer options. And the teams that want to buy, it's not a buyer's market. The teams that want to buy, like the Mariners, are going to have to spend more than they typically do. Here's the second half of what he's saying. So if it's going to be a market where the teams that want to buy, like the Mariners, are going to have to overspend, well, what does that mean for a team like the Mariners that doesn't like to spend?
I think it means you're going to have to get uncomfortable. But also, you do have the farm system right now to put together a package for a player that can beat anybody else's in terms of prospects that you're giving up. You may not have like any major league ready talent to give up because I think your best prospects are still maybe a year or two away from getting there. But you have enough firepower in your farm system to put together a trade for literally anybody on the market. There is not a package the Mariners cannot meet the asking price for. Do they want to meet the asking price for the biggest name available on the market, or at least the biggest prize on the trade market? That remains to be seen. But they have enough to go out and get the biggest name.
What do you think is the best case scenario for the Mariners? If you're a fan who wants to see the Mariners be aggressive at the deadline, what needs to happen by July for you to most likely get your wish? That they win, or that they are in danger of losing the lead and know they need help?
I would love for them to not be in any sort of danger of losing the lead in the American League West. I don't think Houston and Texas are going to go quietly into the night. That's just not the MO of those two teams, especially over the last couple of years, especially with Texas having spent as much as they have. They didn't do really anything this offseason, but that's not to say they won't be aggressive in the trade market. Houston, I think there's a lot of pride involved in that team. We heard Buster Olney talk to us last week about how Jim Crane is one of the most involved owners in Major League Baseball, and he's a very prideful guy. I can't imagine he wants to see his team's run end like this. Mm-hmm. So I think Houston, despite being as far back as they are in the American League West right now, they're still going to, I think, make some noise. But I think this Mariners team, in a perfect world, I would see them acquire a bat and I think a starting pitcher. I think those are the two biggest needs. I think starting pitching is bigger than – I think that's a bigger need than relief help, because I brought up the Texas Rangers last year, and they're not the only example of this in recent seasons in terms of winning the World Series with a below-average bullpen. You saw it in 2019 as well. The Washington Nationals, they won the World Series because they had phenomenal starting pitching. You had Max Scherzer, Steven Strasburg, and Patrick Corbin before he became the worst starting pitcher in Major League Baseball. He's actually really good back in 2019. And then you had a great offense, too, with guys like Juan Soto and Anthony Rendon. And you just had everything kind of working for them that year. But their bullpen was terrible. And I feel like a great bullpen is kind of the last thing that a World Series contender should worry about putting together, because if you're winning games by multiple runs, or if you're getting out to big leads, your bullpen, if you give them a 5-run lead and they give up 1 or 2 runs, it's not going to hurt you in the long run. Whereas if your offense is handing over a 1-run lead or a tie ball game to your bullpen, then if you give up 1 or 2 runs here or there, it's going to hurt you. So really it comes down to the offense, and it comes down, I think, to the starting pitching being able to hand over leads to the bullpen.
I think every single person would like to spend the least and get the most. Like a very natural kind of inclination. Like I am someone who would love to spend $5 on designer jeans. Like that would be fantastic. Like
you're not going to believe what I found at Value Village.
I don't enjoy overspending or spending more than I think I'll have to. So this isn't about like your ideal situation, Curtis, because your ideal situation is what 99% of people would like to do, which is win a trade, spend the least and get the most, right? But how about like kind of a philosophical approach to the deadline? I'm curious to know what you think. Are you someone who says, you know, hey, if I'm going to have to overspend no matter what I do, I'd rather hang on to as many prospects? Or are you someone who says, be aggressive, be aggressive?
Be aggressive.
Be aggressive. AGG.
I think it is better to be aggressive in this situation because one thing that we learned from the previous wave of prospects that came up is that not all of them are going to have success at the big league level. And maybe some are going to deal with injuries too. Evan White and Kyle Lewis, they were seen as pillars of this rebuild or this reimagining, what have you. Jared Kelenic was seen as that. Remember guys like Justice Sheffield and Justin Dunn?
Do I remember?
Yeah, like all those guys were seen as potential contributors to what this thing was ultimately going to be. And that for whatever reason, they all flamed out in one way or another. Justice Sheffield had issues with walks. Justin Dunn never could, break through at the big league level. Jared Kelenic, we all know his story. Kyle Lewis and Evan White dealt with tons of injuries. All of them were seen as these blue chip prospects. All these guys were, first round picks or acquired in trades where the Mariners had to give up significant pieces to get back. And for whatever reason, they didn't work out. And I think if you play that kind of prospect game, you're missing out on what could really be some special talent. I look at the Luis Castillo trade as a perfect example of that. The one time the Mariners did go all in at the trade deadline, the pieces that they gave up, none of them have hit yet with Cincinnati. Noelvi Marte, I believe, is still suspended for PEDs. Edwin Arroyo is out for the season this year. Levi Stout is no longer with the Royals organization. I think Connor Phillips is still with Cincinnati, but he's not a significant contributor right now. So, yes, they had plenty of success with guys like Logan and George Kirby and Julio and Cal, and they developed those guys and graduated them to the big leagues. Bryce Miller, Brian Wu, too. But you can't just sit on all your prospects because the success rate of every prospect in your system coming up to the big league level and being amazing, it's impossible. It doesn't happen. The Astros themselves, when they were building their team into the juggernaut it became, they had guys like Brady Aiken, who was a number 1 overall pick. He never pitched in the big leagues. Like, he never made it. Mark Appel, another guy like that, flamed out. I think he only made it to the big leagues as a reliever years after being the number 1 overall pick. Jonathan Singleton was another guy in their system. He was a first baseman. He's still on the team, but he bounced around Major League Baseball, never became a superstar. So, like, even teams that have had World Series success and have built through their farm system, even they had guys that didn't make it.
Well, and those teams still made trades to get to what they were. The Astros didn't just draft and develop every single piece. They acquired some of those important pieces.
Yeah.
I think because we look at Altuve or Springer, and especially in particular their young hitters, we look and we go, oh my God, that's what they did. They sucked. Lost 100-plus games for a bunch of seasons, and then, drafted high and got all this star talent. And we almost look at it like an NFL draft, and it's like, but that's not how it worked out. Yeah, they did draft and develop, and they had an insanely competitive and brilliant front office that also broke a lot of rules along the way and made a lot of enemies. But they also traded, and they signed free agents.
Got Garrett Cole, got Justin Verlander, got Zach Greinke. They were not afraid to make those kinds of trades.
All right. I love this conversation. I wish we could keep having it. We might get back to it a little bit later. We are certainly going to talk quite a bit of football in the noon hour, so maybe I'll get back to it at 11:45. And then from the dugout, just so you guys know, it's Tuesday, 1 to 2, all Mariners. Shannon Dreyer among the guests joining us, so we'll take a closer look at this team as they look to take 2 from the Rays. You're going to have a 3:50 p.m. first pitch today. Right now, let's get to 4 Down territory.
This is 4 Down territory, going inside the game. With former Seahawks and Coug wide receiver Michael Bumpus.
Stacy, first down to you. Seahawks assistant head coach and secondary expert Leslie Frazier was asked whether the ideal way to build a defense is front to back or back to front. What did he say?
A former defensive back, Super Bowl winning defensive back, and a secondary expert said front to back. Now, if you listen to the podcast, he said it backwards the first time. So if you're like, no, he said back back to front. He later corrected himself. His answer was clearly about building front to back. He said, what I found, I thought this was fascinating. What I found is that the greatest mismatches are usually the matchups between offensive tackles and these fast defensive ends. These okay guards against tremendous athletes playing defensive tackle. That's where your greatest mismatches are. I thought that was fascinating because when I think of mismatches, I go, who's going to guard DK? Or when I think, you know what I mean? I look at, back when Jalen Ramsey was on top of his game, or you go even further and you look at Richard Sherman and Patrick Peterson and all these different guys. And you go, well, you got to get your number one corner on this guy. That's the matchup. And we're so used to looking at it that way. And those are very important mismatches. Like, those are important. But I thought it was fascinating that he talked about, get your best guy on their worst guard. Like, shade your defensive tackle over and maybe have him play on the outside or edge rusher or whatever it is, or find a really, really versatile 3-tech. Whatever you can do, that those mismatches on the front are very, very, very important. If you're like a big football fan, football expert, this isn't news to you, but I thought it was interesting to hear a secondary expert really focus on the front. And he said and ended with the line, if we can get our defensive front right, we have a chance to be successful on defense. Hugely important.
Second down. Stacey, what did you hear that supports Leslie Frazier's point?
To follow the money. So after Leslie Frazier was done talking with Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks explained it this way.
We see the money, right? Follow the money in terms of the value and how we value people in the league. The money continues to rise for the pass rushers while it's kind of stagnated for the defensive backs. I think the league is telling you that they value the guys that can knock down the quarterback more so than the guys that can blanket the receivers on the perimeter.
That was Bucky Brooks basically saying, you know what, I think GMs and front offices agree with Leslie Frazier's point as well. If you were to look at franchise tag values in 2024, so this would be the average of the top 5 salaries at the position. I thought it would be the best way to look at average value, even though these are the top 5 paid players. A defensive tackle is at $22 million. Now, that is higher than safety at $17 million and cornerback at $19.8. And when I talk about that, you go, well, yeah, I mean, Aaron Donald got all those big contracts before he retired. Of course, I can think of $1.5 million great defensive tackles. That's obviously not what it used to be. You go back to 2016, that's not that long ago. Defensive tackle and cornerback were both around $13 million. This is just 2016. Again, not even a decade ago. Then you start heading further back and you see those top 5 salaries switch, where the top 5 cornerbacks were far outpacing the top 5 defensive tackles because there was no Aaron Donald mega extension yet.
Third down. Stacey, this was something that we went on a deep dive on.
Oh, you and I basically talked through what became 4-down territory because we just kept asking questions.
When was the last time a defensive player was the highest paid player on the Seahawks roster?
Now I feel like a teacher in class when I'm like, okay, everyone get ready to shout out your answer. The last time you think a defensive player that was a Seahawk was the highest paid player on the team was, giving it a second for you to yell at your radio. Congratulations if you said Richard
Jacob
Sherman.
Green.
No,
oh, no,
it's been, not that long.
Oh, okay.
Richard Sherman
Dave
carried
Lyman.
at one point. Now, this was a very short amount of time because it was just before Wilson got his extension, so this did not last very long. Richard Sherman carried at one point the highest cap hit of any Seahawks player. Not like overall contract value, but highest cap hit of any Seahawks player. But if you look at the difference in where the league is spending right now, consider this. At one point when Richard Sherman, I think this was 2014, or 2015, just before Russ got that extension, Sherman accounted for the most cap spending for the Seahawks at $12.2 million. That was the highest cap.
Wow.
The highest cap hit.
They had so much money to go around back then.
Well, it's just that, first of all, you're not paying your quarterback yet,
Right.
but importantly, you just the league salary cap overall is just ballooned so much. This league is making so much money that it's crazy to think that $12 million was one of the highest paid corners. And this wasn't per year. This was just his cap hit. One of the highest paid corners, your highest cap hit. But the point is that while Michael Bennett, for a very, very, I think like just a split second, was the highest paid defensive player because he was getting paid when Russ was as well. This has not been a team, Pete and John, that has typically paid defensive linemen a ton of money. That's the secondary takeaway that I want to just mention from that. Richard Sherman was making the most. Michael Bennett was kind of in there, but this has been a team that has, over the last several years, paid offense on average more than defense and has paid their defensive backs. This was Sherman Earls era, not more recently, more than they paid defensive linemen. They've not drafted these all-pro defensive linemen that then get these mega contracts. Like, that's just not been how they've had to spend their money.
Fourth down. So, Stacey, what does the Seahawks defensive spending situation look like now?
Exactly the opposite. You have some really affordable cornerbacks because you got a fifth-rounder in Reek Woolen at corner, and you've got, number 5 overall pick who's getting a pretty penny in his rookie salary, but a rookie salary for Devin Witherspoon. Meanwhile, your cap, I'm going to stick with cap hit, even though overall contract value is more important, but your cap hit for 2 defensive linemen, $28 million. Dre Jones, your 4th highest cap hit. Leonard Williams, an extension and a restructure for Jones have changed these, but $10 million for Leonard Williams makes him the 5th. That's new territory. Yeah. That is new territory over the last decade for the Seahawks to be in. Yes, your quarterback and 2 wide receivers are still getting a ton of money compared to the rest of your squad, as is Noah Fant as a pass catcher in there, but you have not typically been a team that's spent $28 million having a 4th and 5th player on your cap hit be defensive lineman. That's new territory for Seattle. So consider that their investment is now in their defensive line. Will their defensive philosophy follow suit, where the focus is on building out the front, investing in the front, and then maybe letting the secondary develop or using young talent there? We'll see what happens, but this has not been a team that's thrown a ton of money at the defensive line quite the way that they are right now. You are listening to Bump and Stacey on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app. Coming up, we heard some very interesting things from a new head coach. Don't go anywhere.
Seattle Sports, your home for Brock and Salk.
Jeff Passan joins us every Tuesday.
I'll be really curious to see how aggressive Houston is. They're going to be competitive. They're going to stay in it, and I don't think anyone, Mariners included, ever counted them out. If there was like a stew that was going to brew to force the Mariners to do something super aggressive at the deadline, everything is coming together and conspiring for the Mariners to do something very un-Mariner-like at this deadline.
Streaming on your smart speaker.
Can't fix everything for everybody, but you can be there and listen and try to help with what you can. You're there to support them, and that's the best that you can do.
It's this commitment, this philosophy that represents the LJ way.
This is my life. This is my family's life. The people that work here, they're my family. When something's not right with them, it's not right with us. My wife and 3 kids in the house, there's always something wrong with somebody at all times. And if there isn't, then something's wrong. When you have 388 employees, there's never a day that everything is good everywhere. You have to be okay with that. You have to look at that as opportunities to gain a better relationship with people and help them through what they're going through.
The LJ way is the Lee Johnson Auto Family.
I'm Bradley Johnson with 1-800-DUI-AWAY, and I want to wish you a happy Independence Day. The 4th of July is my favorite. It's about family, gratitude, patriotism, and amazing exploding lights in the sky. Perhaps I love it most because it's called Independence Day. I love to fight for my clients' independence. Your right to drive, to provide for your family, your right to do stuff. You feel liberty most when you lose it. Remember buying a box of bottle rockets and salute shells with nothing more than a "have fun, kids"? Well, things have changed since then, including the consequences of a DUI. We're your safe and sane solution to keep freedom ringing. Call 1-800-DUI-AWAY or go to 1-800-DUI-AWAY.com. Red, white, and blue are the colors of freedom, unless they're flashing behind you. 1-800-DUI-AWAY.
1-800-DUI-AWAY. Kinematics Marine Equipment reminds listeners many boaters take to the water this time of year, and one of the biggest safety barriers is alcohol. The problem is alcohol sends clear-headed thinking overboard. Remember, boating is only pleasurable if you play it safe. Please, on the waterways, as on the roadways, don't drink and drive. An important reminder from the entire team at Kinematics Marine Equipment, your nationwide source for marine deck gear for over 40 years. Online at kinematicsmarine.com.
Saving for retirement was tough enough for us.
Yes, and navigating markets can be challenging at times.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we take a disciplined approach with your investments.
Tell us more about that.
We take an active approach to money management, positioning your portfolio for opportunities we see ahead.
So all your clients get the same portfolio?
No, we tailor your portfolio to your individual goals and needs.
What about communication? We don't like being left in the dark.
We check in regularly to keep you informed on the markets and your portfolio.
Which means you'll help us stay on track.
Yes, our goal is your comfortable retirement. And as a fiduciary, we always put your interests first, because we do better when you do better. At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Subscribe to the Seattle Sports YouTube page to find new and exclusive content from your favorite shows and personalities daily. Just head to YouTube, search Seattle Sports, and click subscribe.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car can be picked up as soon as the next day. Receive a tax deduction and vacation voucher.
1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
You ready for a road trip? Because it's time for the Harnish Auto Family Road Trip Sales Event. Hey, Brock Hewitt here. In this month, the Harnish Auto Family is offering a chance to win a $500 road trip package from Sportco and Outdoor Emporium. Test drive any vehicle and enter for your chance to win, no purchase necessary. You'll get an extra entry when you trade in or sell your vehicle. And if you service your vehicle during the event, you'll be entered into a giveaway for a sleek solo stove. Just stop by and take a test drive for your chance to win. HarnishAutoFamily.com. People matter. See dealership for details.
Oh, how nice is it to have these long days back? Mike Salk here, and it really does make waking up for this show at 4 a.m. a whole lot easier when it's already a little bit light outside. And then after work, maybe even sneak in 18 holes all before that late sunset. Well, you know who else loves these long days? Riverside Roofing and all their customers. Long sunny days, that means they can turn around jobs more quickly. Have a roof project that you've been kicking around? Call Riverside Roofing and get on their schedule now. They're cranking out jobs all over Western Washington. I've heard from customers texting into the show who've trusted them, and I myself have been such a pleased, proud customer. The sooner you decide, the sooner you can have this project done, and additionally, you can handpick the best roofing company on the market. For me, that's Riverside Roofing. Go to riversideroofingllc.com right now and get a quick quote on your project. It won't even take 60 seconds. It's Riverside Roofing, family-owned and Master Elite GAF certified. Riverside Roofing, the roofing company you can trust.
This is The Timeline
with Bump and Stacy.
Brought to you by 1-800-DUI-AWAY.
It is The Timeline, reading you the top stories you're going to see and hear about on your own timeline. We are going to start with a quick congratulations to the Florida Panthers for their Stanley Cup win. And a real bummer for Edmonton Oiler Corey Perry. Corey's been on the losing side of the Stanley Cup. Not once, not twice, not even 3 times. 4 times in the last 5 years with 4 different teams. In 2020 with Dallas, 2021 with Montreal, 2022 with Tampa Bay, 2024 with Edmonton. Here's the deal, Curtis. Very, very cool that 4 times in your career you have taken a trip to the Stanley Cup Finals. That's awesome.
Congrats to him.
You are the Buffalo Bills of individual players.
By yourself, you are the Buffalo
Just
Bills.
You. The 4 falls of Corey Perry.
God, that's got to sting in a big way to have it happen the 4th time. Now, he does have a Stanley Cup ring in his career. He won one early on in his career with Anaheim. But also, he got into some hot water earlier this season. I don't know if you remember that Blackhawks with Connor Bedard.
The mom thing? Is it his mom?
We think it was Connor Bedard's mom. Or there could have been somebody else in the Blackhawks organization, and Corey Perry was the one kicked off the team.
Interesting.
Edmonton signed him. So, I don't have too much sympathy for Corey Perry in this moment, but, you have lost 4 Stanley Cups in 5 years. That is a run that I don't think will ever be matched by anybody. And not just 4 and 5 years.
It's impressive when you think about it.
It's with 4 different teams.
What are some impressive feats that are horrible feats? To me, the Bills, losing consecutive Super Bowls
Yeah.
is that. Like going to back-to-back Super Bowls, losing them all is a feat that like you could flip a coin 10 times and like, you know what I mean? Like the odds of that happening have to be so minuscule. And yet it's not necessarily something that you want to parade around and be proud of. It's your biggest heartbreak as a Bills fan.
Right. One that I can think of in the NBA is Elgin Baylor, Seattle U legend, one of the greatest NBA players of all time. Spent 14 years with the Lakers. And this is back when there were not nearly as many teams in the league. Spent 14 years with the Lakers, led the team to the finals 8 times, never won a championship.
That is absolutely one of them.
0-8 in the NBA finals.
That is one of them for sure.
And then what really stings, the year after he retired,
yeah,
Lakers won the title.
That's what I'm saying. It's those things where I'm like, God, I don't necessarily feel super horrible because you had this great journey there,
Right.
but God, how frustrating would it be? Or I think of like, an example would be if this stat existed. I have no idea if it does. Like someone who's carried 3 perfect games into the 8th or later. Like that
Right.
kind of stat where you're like, oh.
Dude.
What are the odds of that? But also, oh, God. That's horrible. Next up, a huge name in the pickleball community is in hot water.
Mike Lefkoe?
No, not Mike
No?
Lefkoe.
Oh.
One of the biggest names in pickleball, this guy named Rodney Grubbs, who goes by Rodney Rocket.
Of course he does. Of course he does.
He's got this line of his own branded apparel called Pickleball Rocks, and he's been one of the huge kind of like people at the forefront of, I'll call it the pickleball movement, okay?
It's very popular these days.
It is, unfortunately. But here's the thing. I've never played it.
Right.
Do
you feel left out or do you feel
I don't
like
feel left
you
out. I
dodged
feel
a
like I'm
bullet?
pushing back on the number of people. Have you tried pickleball? Oh my God, pickleball's so amazing. And it's almost like stubbornness that I'm like, I hate pickleball. Stop asking me to play it. I
think you would
it.
like it because there's a lot of accessories that come with it.
Oh, I'm
And there's a lot of
interested.
outfits you can purchase.
Well, and one of the outfits were pickleball rocks, these like branded shirts that Rodney was hawking. Another thing that he was doing was telling people like, hey, I've got this big company. It's Pickleball Rocks. And this was a huge deal in pickleball, kind of like earlier years with pickleball, AKA not that long ago. And his sales pitch to people was always like, hey, you can invest in this company, USA. He was an ambassador for USA Pickleball. A huge name in pickleball, really trusted. You can invest in this Pickleball Rocks company, and you're going to get like 12% return. It's going to be awesome. And just keep in mind, anytime you hear about scams, you're always like, well, why would anyone fall for this?
Right.
Imagine that this is someone everyone knows. Again, he was an ambassador for USA Pickleball. People would talk about how he deserved to be in the Pickleball Hall of Fame. Why is there one? I don't know, but there is. And people would talk about how he deserved to be in it. He was someone everyone knew. Think of like one of the most famous people in an industry. That's this guy.
Uh-huh.
He has stolen a ton of money from people. A ton. So one example through Fox 59, because it's a local story there, they talked with a woman who was asked by Rodney if she wanted to invest in Pickleball Rocks, and she was like, I don't know. He's like, I just have this one opportunity to do it. It might not be there, which is, of course, how scam artists do it, right? Sense of urgency. And so then she sold her house, and she gets an extra $25,000, and she says, you know what, I will invest. And then that later increases to $75,000. Yeah, it's not too much of a spoiler to say that she does not get that money back, and she's waiting for it. He has 2 court judgments against him for millions of dollars. He has defrauded people out of so much money, and this has like quietly been going on for a really, really long time. But like one judge in Franklin County found that he owed a couple $1.7 million. He's not paying that back.
No.
Another judge found that he owes one Florida resident $3.9 million.
Dang.
This is just one of those quiet scams that you hear about. I guarantee you there will be a Hulu documentary on this.
For sure.
It's just one of those things that goes under the radar, and you're like, how did I never hear about the pickleball controversy? But yeah, apparently one of the biggest names in pickleball is swindling people, particularly older couples, out of their money.
I'm excited for that upcoming documentary, which will definitely happen one day, where we see somebody who is like been taken advantage of by this guy, and they're shadowed out, and we can tell by the voice and their shadow that it's Mike Lefkoe, because he's the biggest pickleball athlete or not pickleball connoisseur that I know.
Yeah, I don't mean to insult Lefko because this could apply to anyone. I don't know he's got $25,000 to invest in Pickleball Rocks t-shirts. No disrespect to Mike Lefko.
That's true.
This guy's taking advantage of like older couples that have sold their home and moved to it. You know what I mean? Which is horrible.
Pickleball is a sport that I think a lot of like middle-aged people and older couples get into.
Yeah, and that's why it's especially gross. Is like it's always gross to scam people. It's always gross to steal, but there's something especially insidious about preying on the elderly.
Yes.
That just getting someone to trust you, and it's through encouraging them to get into this active, healthy lifestyle and do something that's good for them. And then, you're telling them, I can get you a return. I can help you get all this money, and they'll never get it back. It's sad. Shame on this guy. We aren't calling you Rocket anymore. You don't deserve that nickname. You don't deserve a cool nickname.
No.
Rodney Grubbs. You're Rodney Grubby right now. That's
right.
what we're calling you. You're Grubby. Next up, JJ Redick's introductory press conference with the Lakers was predictably a circus. We'll start with him being asked if there are any misconceptions he wants to clear up.
What misconceptions or concerns about you that you've heard in the last few weeks are you the most looking forward to dispelling?
It's a valid question, and I've certainly heard everything. It's been a really interesting 6 weeks or so, just in terms of being part of the engagement farming industry. It's been really interesting. However, I don't really have a great answer for your question because I really don't give a honestly.
That's a 4-letter word that starts with an F.
Wow.
There's someone in the background. Whoa.
I probably would have said the same thing if I was at the press conference.
How can I get to the very end of this cut? I want to get to the final 4 seconds of I really don't get. Whoa.
Whoa. Hey.
Whoa. Hey, JJ. Calm down.
I just find it very, interesting that Bump has not been here throughout this whole JJ Redick discourse. I think he's waiting for it to blow over. Then he'll be back tomorrow in hopes that we've forgotten about it. But no, Bump, we will grill you about this once you return.
We won't forget. Yeah. Rate, review, and subscribe to the Bump and Stacy podcast. We're available wherever it is you get your podcasts, as well as on SeattleSports.com and the Seattle Sports app. Talking football with Pro Football Focus lead analyst Sam Monson at noon.
The Dugout. Go in-depth with the Mariners.
Leaps up and he makes the catch.
With voices like Ryan Roland Smith, Gary Hill, and Mike Blowers.
Long-term pitching, if you have that foundation, good things are going to happen.
It makes him so valuable when he's hitting.
This team is a team that's going to have to bunch hits together, put pressure on the defense.
Hear from the players and coaches, and go behind the scenes with insider Shannon Dreyer.
They find a way to grind it out, stay in the game. I thought it was a really good win for them.
The Dugout, Tuesdays at 1 p.m. on Seattle Sports.
I saw her texting coming up to a stop sign, and so I saw the accident coming, and she T-boned us.
In the blink of an eye, Crystal's life changed when she suffered a severe spinal injury.
The pain was something I had never experienced before in my neck. I got massage therapy. I saw a chiropractor. I was prescribed muscle relaxers so I could sleep. I got depressed. Nothing was relieving the pain.
Drugs, sleepless nights, and depression. Sound familiar? I'm Dr. Mark Shelley, a chiropractic physician and board-certified functional neurologist. At Sound Pain Solutions, our treatments include high-dose laser combined with spinal decompression and other comprehensive therapies to rehabilitate damaged discs. We use treatments that are non-surgical, FDA-cleared, drug and pain-free.
I was able to get off my pain medicines, and I was able to sleep through the night, and that was what I was desperate for.
To learn if you're a candidate for our treatment, call us. Sound Pain Solutions. 855-996-3536 or click soundpainsolutions.com.
Guys, did you know your testosterone affects everything in your system, including how you feel and perform every day? Right now, Revive Men's Health Seattle will check your testosterone for free. Knowing your T levels is the first step in understanding if you have low T. Your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED. Maintaining an appropriate T level can change your whole life. Most men start to see changes in their hormone levels in their 30s. Experience and results matter. So what are you waiting for? Get your T levels checked today by local, experienced, and trusted men's health experts. They've helped thousands of men since 2011. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Call Revive today and schedule your free testosterone test, free exam, and free consultation. Call Revive Men's Health at 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Hey, it's Dr. Coogan with Eastside Weight Loss Clinic. Are you tired of losing weight just to see it all come back again? Summer is around the corner and you want to look and feel like yourself again, but getting back on that frustrating weight loss roller coaster is the last thing you want to do. You've heard about the new drugs but are concerned with the possible side effects, or you're taking weight loss drugs but also want to learn how to change your lifestyle for long-lasting results. At Eastside Weight Loss Clinic, we know the secret for fast and lasting weight loss using real healthy foods and lifestyle strategies. Schedule your free consultation online at eastsideweightlossklinik.com.
Well, for me, Eastside Weight Loss Clinic is all about the support, but even more so, the accountability. I need someone to hold me accountable. I need to report to somebody every day so I don't go about this in the wrong way. It helped me lose 35 pounds in 8 weeks.
Our program has successfully helped thousands of people lose up to 10 to 20% of their body weight in 60 days. You can start our program in person in Kirkland or virtually from anywhere you live. Schedule your free phone consultation today by calling 425-588-0080 or eastsideweightlossklinik.com.
Dr. Ryan Coogan, D.C. Results may vary. Bonneville International radio station contests are open to participants 18 years of age or older that are residents of Washington State unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contests are not eligible to win unless the station otherwise specifies at its own discretion. Persons who have won in the last 60 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available on seattlesports.com or in person at the station during regular business hours.
Call or click 811 before you dig. Anything that causes you to roll up your sleeves a little and dig in requires you to first connect with 811. Call or click 811 and visit safeexcavator.com.
Lexus is electrified, and the first ever RZ450e has the performance and range to get you where you need to go with the exclusive Lexus Direct 4 all-wheel drive technology. Lexus of Bellevue has over 50 RZs available for immediate delivery with electrifying savings up to $17,000 lease cash on every RZ450e. Visit lexusofbellevue.com.
On approval of credit through LFS, lease cash from Lexus available on select 2024 RZ styles. Must take delivery by July 1st, 2024. A documentary service fee up to $200 may be added to the purchase price or capitalized costs. See dealership for details. It's not too late to become a 2024 Mariners season ticket member. Check out a Mariners Flex membership, a great option for fans who want the flexibility to choose their games and seats all summer long, while still enjoying the perks of being a member. With a Flex membership, you'll receive benefits like savings of 10% or more on tickets with no fees, access to exclusive pre-sales, year-round discounts at the team store and the box yard, and so much more. Go to mariners.com/flex to learn more about becoming a part of the Mariners family. Hey, sports fans, ready to take your fitness game to the next level? At Emerald City Athletics, they're on your team. Score big this June with the unbeatable summer sale on now. Get 20% off all memberships and join with zero enrollment fees. There's never been a better time to get started at Seattle's favorite local gym, Emerald City Athletics. Whether you're looking to build strength, increase endurance, or just stay in the game, their team of fitness pros will come up with the perfect game plan for you. Emerald City Athletics' top-notch trainers and state-of-the-art facilities are there to help you crush your fitness goals, whatever they may be. Hey, don't wait. Join the winning team at Emerald City Athletics and start a customized fitness journey that will level up every area of your life. Get started today with 20% off all memberships and no enrollment fees. Some restrictions apply. This summer sale is on now for a limited time. Emerald City Athletics has gyms in Wallingford, Columbia City, Ballinger Village, and Everett. Stop by any Emerald City Athletics location to lock in exclusive summer savings today.
You're listening to Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
All right, as a reminder, the dugout is coming up in a little over an hour. All Mariners from 1 to 2. Shannon Dreher is going to join us to get us started, as we hope the Mariners can take 2 of these against the Rays. They'll get another chance, 3:50 p.m. first pitch today. Coming up in 15 minutes, talking with Pro Football Focus lead analyst Sam Monson. We are sticking with the Mariners for right now because we have so much to talk about from Jeff Passan's conversation earlier today, Curtis. So let's go ahead and get started with Jeff talking about the general vibe, doing a vibe check of his own around the Mariners.
If there was like a stew that was going to brew to force the Mariners to do something super aggressive at the deadline, it includes, a tough stretch where they're losing games to the Marlins. It includes the Astros and the Rangers both knocking on their door. Like, everything is coming together and conspiring for the Mariners to do something very un-Mariner-like at this deadline.
What is the ingredients for a big deal for the Mariners at the deadline? According to Jeff Passan, he's seeing a lot of them right now. A team that's really, really good at one thing, that had a really nice divisional lead, has struggled, and whose struggles have been made apparent to the front office, and who was looking ahead and seeing some options.
Yeah, and I think looking at all that is conspiring with the Mariners and how they are in a great spot to make a trade. If they didn't do that, I mean, I don't know of anybody that wouldn't walk away from this trade deadline sorely disappointed if the Mariners do not make a trade of significance. And I'm not talking about the trades that we've seen in the past where it's kind of lateral moves or moves that are like, well, if we give up something here, it sets us up nicely for next year, like the Paul Sewald trade or the Kendall Graveman trade.
No, we're talking make an attempt at a deep playoff run 2024.
Yes.
This October.
Let's see that happen, Mariners.
Well, what would be considered a huge move?
I think Alonso's huge. The Mariners generally don't go out and get big rentals.
Yes, I would say
I
yes.
suppose that's the point. You know, I think there are two different ways you go huge. You get a star player who's under control, because normally the Mariners go and get guys who are under control, but they're not necessarily stars. They're more like complimentary guys.
Okay. Is Paredes a star? Does he count?
No.
Okay.
I think Guerrero and Robert they count.
So this is not Jeff saying give up a ton for Pete Alonso. This is Jeff saying there are two ways to be aggressive at the deadline. One, give up a ton for a young star with club control. Luis Robert has the most with 2 years, but you could also go for someone like Vlad. The other one is to give up less, though maybe something notable, for a rental. And this is not, the risk is in him being a rental, that you gave something up and you might only get him for, 60 some odd games.
I don't think the Mariners can pick and choose between a rental or a longer term.
Why not?
I think because the urgency to win should supersede any sort of future club control that the team has over a
This
player.
feels silly to ask, but why?
Because this window is not going to stay open. We talked to Ryan Divish yesterday, and you asked him, Stacey, what's the likelihood that the Mariners are able to re-sign Cal Raleigh, Logan Gilbert, and George Kirby? And Ryan kind of scoffed first and was like, well, Fantasyland at Disney World is right over there. If you want to go and maybe, put that over in Fantasyland. But because of that answer that Divish gave us yesterday, it means that this window is going to close, at least with those guys or a combination of those guys, in the near future. So the opportunity to win a World Series, as we, saw in 2022, how the Mariners made it to the divisional round and gave the Astros a really good fight in that divisional series despite getting swept. Like, these opportunities just don't come around all that often. You've got to strike while the iron's hot. And I think if you are hemming and hawing over, well, this guy has 2 years of club control left, this guy has 3 years of club control left, this guy's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. No, this trade deadline, I think you should be focused mostly on which player is going to help us win in 2024. Because that's the most important thing to Mariners fans right now. And that should be the most important thing, I think, to the front office right now, because you're in first place.
Do you think it's hard to recognize how hot the iron is when you're still a flawed team? Like, if you were the Yankees, it's like, oh my God, of course you can win a World Series. You've got two players that are 1 and 2 in OPS, and you've got the best ERA in baseball. But do you think that for the Mariners, it's like, your iron is hot. Like, your window is peak. It is primed. And you just maybe don't recognize it as much because that lead isn't as big as you want, or the stats aren't as good as you want, or because you are very flawed. And so it doesn't seem like this surefire bet to win a World Series. That doesn't mean the time isn't now.
Yeah. I think anytime you're in first place at this point in the season, and not only first place, but first place by a margin, not as good as it was last week, but you're still 5.5 up in the division. I think that should be as clear of a signal to anybody in the organization. Hey, we've got a shot at this.
Yeah.
Because last year you saw the Diamondbacks make the World Series as an 84-win team. The playoffs are even more random now because you've added the wild card round, and that's just more games, more chances for randomness in the postseason. Yes, you are not the Yankees and Orioles right now, but that is not, I don't think that's good enough reason to be like, well, we're not the Yankees and Orioles, so we might as well not go all in because
and who's
we're
to
not.
Say you ever will be?
Exactly.
And who's to say those two teams will win a World Series? Well, neither. They can't do it both in the same year.
Right. One of those teams is going to be very disappointed.
One of them is going to be left disappointed.
Maybe even both. So why not be the team that disappoints those teams? Why not be the team that makes them, just kick the dirt and just be like, really? We let that team beat us in the playoffs? It's like, yeah, because this team, this Mariners ball club, has a really good shot this year if they go all in.
Will you be disappointed if they don't?
Yeah, I will be. Because, again, you have a playoff caliber ball club. You should be doing everything you can to round this thing into shape and get it ready for playoff baseball. Like, you are not good enough as currently constructed, I think, to make as much noise as possible in the playoffs. By adding a bat or by adding another arm to this rotation, you are doing, I think, what's being asked of you, which I don't think is a lot at this point, to ask of the Mariners to go out and get some help. I don't think that is a crazy thing to ask of this ball club, especially at this point in the season and with where they are in the American League and how they're within striking distance, I think, of Cleveland for that second bye in the American League. Like, go out and do it. Like, go out and really get this thing rocking because everybody wants to see it. We've waited, 40-something years to see this team in the World Series? I think a lot of people are tired of waiting.
Is being willing to acquire a rental also specific to the skills that rental brings? Like, it's not just any rental, and typically you'd like someone with club control, right? But what does Pete Alonso do for you that would make you willing to acquire him?
He can hit. He can hit balls out of any stadium, and that even goes for T-Mobile Park. Like, he can hit anywhere. I know the average is not as sexy as a lot of people want it to be, but that guy can change the game with one swing of the bat.
Pro Football Focus lead analyst Sam Monson joins us next. Let us know your deepest burning questions about the Seahawks. That's next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Brock and Salk.
Leslie Frazier, what is going to be his role? What kind of impact can he make with this team?
He's going to be a mentor to Mike McDonald. And when you've got, a younger staff, some doing it for the first time at the NFL level, Salk, and I think a tremendous resource in Leslie Frazier, not just to the players, but to some of those younger coaches to say, hey, man, I've been here. I've done this a little bit. I've seen it at the highest level. I've seen how this works. And that messaging from him, the gray hair on the staff, going to be incredibly important.
Streaming on your smart speaker.
What do thousands of students that rely on free school lunches do during the summer? It's G. Scott here. Sunbucks is a SNAP program that provides free, healthy food when school is out. If you could use the help, simply fill out the form online to determine eligibility for $120 of free food per child. This message is presented by Safeway, where customers can use SNAP to match their produce purchases as well as shop online. Learn more at hungerfreewashington.org/summer EBT.
Hey, don't miss the Harnish Auto Family Road Trip Sales event going on now. Test drive any vehicle and enter for your chance to win a $500 road trip package. Go to harnishautofamily.com to find a dealership near you. Harnish Auto Family. People matter. See dealership for details.
Mike Salk here for RiversideRoofingLLC.com, where you can enter your address and receive a hassle-free quick quote on your roof replacement within seconds. Do it this spring and save time, money, and get your project done at RiversideRoofingLLC.com, the roofing company you can trust.
Hey, it's Shannon O'Kelly from IRG, and this Wednesday night at 6, we're hosting a free live webinar to talk all about stem cell therapy with Dr. Mark Wagner, MD.
I'm really looking forward to this live webinar to educate on how using your own stem cells can be an extremely successful method to help regenerate native tissue in rotator cuffs, meniscus tears, and reduce pain in osteoarthritic joints.
Which joints have you seen good success with?
Shoulders, elbows, hips, knees, even wrists and ankles. And in this live webinar, we'll tell you all about the procedure, how simple and safe it is using your own stem cells, and how we determine if you're a candidate.
Dr. Wagner has has performed over 20,000 stem cell procedures. Are you in pain? Join us this Wednesday night at 6 and learn all about stem cell therapy with Dr. Mark Wagner, MD. Register for our free live webinar at irgpt.com/events. irgpt.com/events.
Attention talcum powder users. Have you had ovarian or gynecological cancer? A proposed $8 billion plan will pay those who believe they got sick from using talc products like Johnson's baby powder and shower to shower. Johnson & Johnson maintains its products are safe. You have until July 26, 2024 to vote to accept or reject the plan. For more information, visit officialtalclaims.com or call 888-431-4056. Paid for by LLT Management, LLC.
When you use Bounce dryer sheets and your clothes look amazing, it's the sheet. Less static in your life? Yeah, it's the sheet. Smelling fresher than ever? It's the sheet. Oh, so soft fabric? Ooh la la. It's the sheet. Less wrinkles on your clothes? You know it's the sheet. Bounce dryer sheets. More freshness, more softness. Less static, less wrinkles. It's the sheet.
What's wrong? My travel rewards card didn't earn enough miles for my vacation.
Are you crying? Are you crying because of that other credit card?
Uh-huh.
Well, switch to the Capital One Venture card. Venture lets you redeem miles on any travel purchase.
Really?
Yep, and you earn unlimited double miles on every purchase every single day. The Capital One Venture card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Need assistance with door and window projects? The Home Depot can help. From inspiration and materials to ordering and installation, our free Millwork virtual apron service can get you moving and doing. Plus, we speak Spanish too. Our associates can help you tackle complex jobs without you leaving the job site, saving you time and money. Call us at 1-833-HD-APRON or visit homedepot.com/MVA. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online at hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation to determine the ED medication that's best for you. Discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and a range of treatment options, including trusted generic alternatives to the name brands, at up to 95% off. ED is personal, and at Hims, so is treating it. Just go to hims.com/joy and get connected to a licensed medical provider online for free, with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. hims.com/joy.
This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports. Seattle Sports Snapshot.
Celtics center Kristaps Porzingis, who played through a leg injury during Boston's championship run, will miss the Olympics to undergo surgery. He was set to compete for Team Latvia. The Mariners dropped an ugly game to the Rays in their series opener yesterday, but you know how you bounce back with a win today and tomorrow. First pitch today at 3:50 p.m. Early one tomorrow, 9:10 a.m. first pitch.
Snapshot, brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time.
This is Bump and Stacy
on Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Michael Bumpus and Stacy Ross.
Here we go now. Lots to talk about when it comes to the Seahawks. We don't care that they're on a break. We got a lot of questions about this team and about the NFL. So who better to join us than Pro Football Focus lead analyst Sam Monson on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline. Sam, how's it going?
Doing well. How about you guys?
Fantastic. Obviously, it's beautiful outside. All these players are on their mini version of a summer break, but we have a lot of questions about this team. I'm going to start with something Leslie Frazier talked about. He was on Move the Sticks and had a lot to say about building this team, and he talked about building a defense from the front back. That's not like new analysis or news or a new concept to many people. I think a lot of people agree with that. But Sam, it feels like that's not typically how Seattle's defense has been built, right?
No, probably not. Certainly the thing that we all remember, the Legion of Boom defenses for was that secondary and how amazing it was. Now, we maybe sort of mischaracterized that or maybe just put too much emphasis on it. They had some really good defensive lines with those really good defenses as well. I don't think that secondary would have been as good or as remembered as it is unless there had been some guys up front that were able to do some real damage as well. So I think maybe we sort of put too much focus on the secondary from those great Seahawks defenses of the past, but definitely that's where the star power was. And I think this defense is probably going to be focusing the other way. It's probably going to try and load up on those trenches and rely on benefiting the guys at the back end.
Well, and what a perfect transition, because Sam, today your defensive line rankings dropped on Pro Football Focus. So you have the Seahawks at 17. Do you have their defensive line trending up, trending down? How do you see them faring here in 2024?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a very good chance that this defensive line is going to look better this year than even in those rankings, than they're being given credit for because of the system that's being brought in, which, the last few years, the sort of in vogue defense has been that Vic Fangio defensive scheme. I think the one that's coming in now is going to be the next couple of years. And the Seahawks are going to be right on the cutting edge with essentially the primary architect of that defensive scheme as their head coach. So I think this defensive line, number one, it's going to get the most out of some of the players on that unit. And number two, it's just going to enhance, I think, the play of everybody along that defensive front because of the way they coach defense, because of the way they essentially allow everybody to just play quickly and sort of meld the pressure looks with the formation and just let everybody go out there and play football without having to think about it.
Leslie talked about how, in his mind, some of the most fascinating matchups are up front along the defensive line. When you graded your defensive lines and you looked at some of the most impactful players in the league, are a lot of those guys kind of like positionless, just incredibly difficult to cover, a rare combination of size and speed? I mean, what do some of the very, very best guys have in common?
I think a lot of the best guys, they're not necessarily positionless or they don't necessarily move around the defensive line. So the way wide receivers do, they're just really, really good. And then I think that what you really, though, need, even if you're an amazing player, you need some kind of foil. You need a complementary piece. You need somebody else on the defensive line just to keep enough attention away from you that you can have that kind of impact. And we saw that, last season really with Myles Garrett. He's been phenomenal for years for the Cleveland Browns, but suddenly they put some help around him. And Zadarius Smith comes in, Dalvin Tomlinson comes in, Okoronkwo comes in, and suddenly there's a defensive line around Myles Garrett, and he immediately wins Defensive Player of the Year. I don't think that Myles Garrett last year was significantly better than he'd been in previous years. Just the help around him was better. So I think that's the real key to these superstar defensive linemen really having, Defensive Player of the Year, All-Pro type seasons, is can they just get a bit of help and have their team put enough help around them for them to truly maximize the impact that they can have.
Looking around the NFC West, your defensive line rankings, you had the 49ers at number 2, and just maybe kind of looking at the 49ers as a whole, how much longer do you think their title window will be open for, especially because you've got Brock Purdy's looming payday, you've got sort of the situation going on with Brandon Ayuk and whether they keep him, whether they keep Deebo Samuel. How much longer do you think the 49ers are on top of the NFC West?
I think they're probably still there for a couple of years. And in particular, Brock kind of level he was playing at last season. And, there's a debate as to how much of it is him and how much of it is, the system, how much of it is Shanahan, how much of it is the weaponry around him. To an extent, it doesn't really matter as long as he can keep it up. It doesn't really matter whether he's a big piece of that puzzle or a smaller piece. As long as the puzzle, the whole remains intact, they're going to be phenomenal. So It only becomes a problem once he signs a big money contract, and then that starts to have an effect on guys like Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, and suddenly they have to start shipping off a couple of those players, and that's when it does matter if he's not a huge piece of that overall puzzle. But I think that's a few years away. I think they can probably keep Brandon Ayuk if they want to do that. And if they didn't, I would imagine they would have traded him away already at this stage. So I imagine they're going to keep that group. Even if they lose one of Ayuk and Deebo Samuel, they've already sort of been drafting for that contingency with Ricky Pearsall coming in to what is already a ridiculously loaded skill position group. So, yeah, I don't think the 49ers are going away anytime soon.
Hey, I wanted to talk a bit about those quarterback situations. You looked at the top 10 quarterback situations in the league. You had Brock Purdy at number 1, and this was mostly about the supporting cast. Of the 6 quarterback situations that ranked in the top 6, only one, C.J. Stroud, was in the AFC. It feels like there is potentially some movement and change in what had been a weakened NFC. Who do you see as a team that, could take that big step forward, either heading to a wild card team or taking a step up from being a wild card team?
I think the Falcons immediately catapulted themselves into the playoffs just by signing Kirk Cousins. This was not a bad team a year ago, and they had one of the worst quarterback situations in the NFL. The offseason for them, obviously all the focus has been about the Michael Penix Jr. pick at the top of the draft, but simply signing Cousins makes that a playoff team. They also probably upgraded the coaching group as well. When you look at the new Raheem Morris at head coach, Zach Robinson coming in as offensive coordinator from that Rams, Sean McVay coaching tree, you would expect that to be a very good offense and a very good coaching unit with Kirk Cousins. So I think the Falcons could easily jump, and you would imagine they would win that division and could easily make some noise in the playoffs as well.
Hey, Sam, a couple weeks ago you wrote about Justin Jefferson's new contract with the Vikings, and the headline says his new deal is another sign that receivers are the most valuable non-quarterbacks. So I guess with that having been said, where do you fall on the Seahawks potentially extending DK Metcalf after this season? Is he somebody that they need to keep around in order to build out this roster, or is it maybe getting to a point where DK could be making maybe too much money for the Seahawks' liking?
DK Metcalf is in that interesting bracket of receivers where he's not, a truly elite superstar, a Justin Jefferson, a Jamar Chase, but he is very, very good. And we're at that kind of group where those guys are getting paid a lot of money, but often teams get a couple of years into that deal and they start to maybe regret the money that they've committed to him or start wondering whether they're still worth it. He's in the sort of Amari Cooper bracket, and Amari Cooper's entire career seems to have just been one cycle after another of that exact dynamic. He gets paid the contract, or he makes the team better. He gets paid his big contract, and then a couple of years into it, a team starts looking at that cap number and going, is he really worth that? They trade him to someone else, and we start the whole cycle over again. So I think DK Metcalf is in that same sort of bucket where I would look to keep him around. I think he's a devastating playmaker. He can make explosive plays. He makes a big impact on that offense. And maybe it's a couple of years into that contract when the Seahawks start wondering if, he's really worth the money they're paying him. But I think certainly he should get extended this time.
Hey, sticking with the topic of wide receivers and heading back just a bit to talking about the 49ers and the NFC West, if we're looking at a Ayuk-less 49ers team, what does it mean for the 49ers, for the West, and maybe for the Seahawks? Is it that much of a difference on a team with so many weapons?
He's their best wide receiver, and he's an incredible playmaker in his own right, but they have so much depth and so much variety in that group that I think they can just pivot the offense and live without him and be fine. It's sort of like, in any given season, George Kittle could be the best tight end in the NFL, put up monster numbers, lead the league in receiving from tight end, but it's difficult for them to give him that kind of workload because the ball goes to Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey, and it's hard for Kittle to get the kind of workload that, say, somebody like Travis Kelce does. And I think that's true for most of the guys in that offense. Like Christian McCaffrey in any given season could have an offensive player of the year type of year. Deebo Samuel could put up monster numbers. Brandon Ayuk, if they wanted to give him the kind of workload that guys like Justin Jefferson could put up those kinds of numbers. But it's difficult to get them all to eat at the same time. And inevitably, some of them are just going to have a little bit less of an opportunity than others. But I think that means that if you lose one of them, you can just rearrange the workload a little bit. And the other guys are just going to pick up a bit more of the slack each, and everything's still going to be fine. So I think they would like to keep him around, but if they did trade him away, I don't think that offense would suffer that much.
Sam, one of the big stories in the NFL everybody's watching this season is how will the Cowboys prioritize Micah Parsons, CeeDee Lamb, and Dak Prescott, all of them up for new deals soon. How would you sort of rank them in order of importance of keeping around?
The tough thing is you want to keep all three of those guys. I mean, in today's NFL, you have 4 or 5 huge contracts that you can hand out, and then you have to start making financial decisions. But the 4 or 5 players would include those 3. They would include your quarterback, your top receiver, and your best defensive player. And those are the guys that they all have coming up for those contracts. So, obviously Dak Prescott is the difficult one to get done because it's going to be the biggest number and the most onerous in terms of that salary cap, particularly because it's the second big deal for him. He's already had one big extension that itself was stretching that salary cap. So Dak, I think, is the most difficult one to get done. But once they get that sorted, I think they can make the other deals sort of hang around that on the salary cap once they understand what they're dealing with. But honestly, they don't want to let any one of those guys leave.
I think that there are fans that look at that situation and go, well, why not let Dak leave? He doesn't come up in clutch moments. And Sam, as you're well familiar with, there's just that narrative that the Cowboys can't get it done and your quarterback must be responsible for it. Curtis and I have been debating this for several days, as the topic has really come to the forefront and then lately involved Seattle and what they do at quarterback. And I just find it fascinating, Sam, trying to decide what the issue has been in Dallas. Do you think Dak gets an undue amount of blame, or do you look at him and think that there are areas where I can see where that fell apart?
No, I think it's a reasonable criticism and complaint, but it isn't unique to him. It's the entire Cowboys right now. I think everybody knows in Dallas, once you get to the postseason, that's when things start, and they are playing against this couple of decades worth of pressure and, his history, and knowing that it always falls apart. And the last couple of seasons in particular, it's really felt like that when they get to the postseason. Everybody just tightens up and, for want of a better word, chokes. And Dak Prescott's absolutely part of that. But I don't know that another quarterback wouldn't be either. It's an institutional problem. It's not something I think that you fix just by changing quarterback and getting rid of Dak Prescott and trying to find another guy. And, this offseason is a good example of the problem. Yes, it's going to cost you a ton to keep Dak Prescott around, but let's say they'd done it this season. They'd moved on from him this offseason. What were the alternatives? You would have had to pay Kirk Cousins a ton of money as an alternative in free agency, or you would have been picking, QB 6 or 7 in the draft if you had the opportunity. So it's not easy to move on from a guy that's as good as Dak Prescott, even if he has come up short in the biggest moments for them.
Sam, we're about a month away from training camp. You look across the league right now, what position battle, regardless of team, which one are you most interested in watching play out over the course of training camp in the preseason?
I think there's a lot of fun running back competitions. These backfields in today's NFL, there's a lot of sort of committee backfields. Not many people operate with a traditional sort of bell cow workhorse running back, but it means that the order is in flux and sort of up for debate. And you have a lot of these young guys, particularly this year. This is the running back class in the draft that a lot of people didn't think was very good, but I think consequently that means so many of these guys got drafted in the mid rounds, which is where, the data would say you should be taking running backs anyway. That's when you can get these guys and they'll come in. They'll be really useful parts of the backfield, and they didn't cost you a first round pick. They didn't cost you big money free agency contracts either. So I think there's a lot of really interesting backfields, particularly with a lot of these rookies, that are going to be fascinating to watch play out.
He is Pro Football Focus lead analyst Sam Monson. Make sure you're reading his work, pff.com. Thanks so much, Sam.
Thanks, Sam.
Anytime, guys. Take it easy.
All right, let's head to the station for Hype Train. JJ Redick has already appeared once on this show, not in person. I mean, he made it to the timeline because of some wild comments from his introductory press conference, including saying he doesn't really give a blank about rumors or worries that he may not be able to get it done.
How edgy of him to use a swear.
He used a swear. It was 4 letters, and that's all I'll say. JJ Redick makes it to a second season as Lakers head coach.
Oh, man. A part of me does not want him to make it to a second season.
What's JJ ever done to you?
JJ is like the face of Duke basketball to me. That's my era. Is JJ Redick as a Dookie, and then now that he's with the Lakers, I think there's the JJ Redick hate is back. I feel like his public perception as an ESPN analyst, he was great, which is weird to think about because he was so hated when he was at Duke. Now that he's back with the Lakers, I think people are back to hating JJ Redick, which makes everything in the world feel right again.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like it set itself back to
It's like how
normal.
Alex
Reset.
Rodriguez was very likable as an ESPN and Fox Sports analyst.
Yeah.
And when he was dating Jennifer Lopez, everybody liked him. And then he stepped out on J-Lo.
And he
then
went back to being hated.
a villain.
And you were like, this is how the universe should.
this
Some
feels
people
right
are just
again.
meant to be hated.
So I don't think JJ Redick makes it to a second season as Lakers head coach. I'm not boarding this train, Stacey.
It's tough because I don't think that if the Lakers fail, it's going to be on JJ. The Lakers have a personnel problem, a player problem, and they have a lot of contracts and situations that they need to figure out. I don't think JJ can win with this team with the way it's currently constructed. Do I think that we have seen a history of a Lakers team, in particular a GM, who receives fault and blame and is responsible for that? No.
That's what I want to know is how's the Lakers GM still employed in all of this?
I'm not boarding this train either. I think it's very possible. And what I hope happens is if he does not make it to a second season as Lakers head coach, we get that podcast.
He's back on the podcast.
We get the pod back. That first episode, I don't care at all about the Lakers, and I'm listening to that podcast episode if he is fired. Next up.
He's going to be saying Blue Apron ads in a very... Use promo code FIRED for 20% off your first order. That's promo code FIRED.
The Cowboys have a big decision to figure out. 3, in fact, which is how much and whether they're going to pay CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, and Dak Prescott. Now, Dak could play under the final year of his contract. He doesn't need to be paid right now, but then figuring that out when he's about to become free agent is going to be very, very tricky. But no worries, because it's just going to happen. As much as we all love the sports fodder during the quiet time of the NFL calendar, the Cowboys will pay Dak Prescott before the start of the season.
Before the start of the season. I will not board this train. I think they let this whole thing play out, and Dak is betting on himself this season. And oftentimes we've seen it work out in a quarterback's favor. Joe Flacco comes to mind, I think is maybe the best example of that, where he led the Ravens to a Super Bowl and then got super paid after that. Never did live up to the contract afterwards, but I think Dak and the Cowboys let this situation play out through the season, and then they address it after the year. I think Dak ends up walking. I do. So I don't think the Cowboys pay Dak Prescott. Stacey?
It's not a stellar quarterback class. All of that is subject to change. You never know who's going to step up and just absolutely blow you away, right? Joe Burrow was a prime example of that. No one had their eye on him, and then all of a sudden, he has an amazing year with LSU, becomes the number 1 pick. I, though, don't know that I have confidence in this class to blow the Cowboys out of the water. It's not a great free agency period. I think that they're just playing hardball, and eventually they're going to pay him because most teams don't let a starter walk, which is why when Seattle did it, it was so shocking.
Right.
So as much as I love the juiciness of Dak Prescott finding a new home and the Cowboys figuring out what to do without Dak, and as much as I wonder if Dak is part of the problem too, I think that they keep him and just try to throw everything at the wall and see if it sticks on another championship
So
run.
you're boarding this train?
Yeah. Next up. Jeff Passan earlier this morning with Brock and Salk said that it's going to be a seller's market, and that makes things tough for the Mariners, who are probably going to have to overpay. Nonetheless, the Mariners will make the first big move of the deadline.
I want to see it. I need to see it. And I think we will. I am boarding this train. I think the Mariners make the first big move of the trade deadline. I would love for it to happen while we're on the air.
Now, if the that would be great. Maybe we can get a message to Justin and Jerry to like,
hey,
can you guys make a trade between the hours of 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Pacific time?
They normally get their trades done, I think, like at nighttime.
I know that they're worried about their team and winning a World Series, but how about our ratings?
Yeah, how about clout?
Yeah.
Which is
number one
should
rule
all
of the show.
be
Number one rule of the show.
on.
Look, if you're going to say that the Mariners are going to make a big swing and acquire a big bat, well, that means they're going to be one of the early movers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, sure. Why not? Doing it for vibes alone. Let's see. Let's do a final one. I'll do a fun one here. We will go food.
Oh, okay.
We'll go food. Now, I'm trying to think of a debate that Derek and I have had recently. Oh, I got one. Hamburger pizza. Have you ever heard about that?
I have heard about it, yeah. Godfathers used to make.
Oh, no, I got another one. Pineapples don't belong on pizza.
Pineapples don't belong on pizza. I'm not boarding. I'm a fan of pineapples being on pizza. You want to know how crazy this world works? Is how about a minute ago I said I wanted a Mariners trade.
Stop.
It's not a huge
I
one.
knew that it wouldn't because you would have interrupted me 30 seconds ago, but go ahead and read it.
Well, you know how the Mariners are lacking in starting pitching depth in their minor league system?
Uh-huh.
They're lacking even further now because the Brewers have acquired Dallas Keuchel from the Mariners.
Do we know?
Nothing in return yet, but that's Ken Rosenthal has that. So Dallas Keuchel, not a Mariner anymore.
Okay.
So just when you thought starting pitching depth was an issue with this team.
So here's the
there's
deal.
An even bigger hole now.
We're coming back with NFL headlines, and we have some stuff to talk about, including what looks like the most amazing movie I've ever heard about in my life. But we are going to keep an eye on this trade, so we'll interrupt NFL headlines if there's more with this Mariners trade. Don't go anywhere.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
Logan Gilbert, in his last 2 starts, has gone 16 combined innings, given up a total of 6 hits, 0 runs, 1 walk, and 15 strikeouts. He has been ridiculous. He is the most deserving member of this entire Mariners roster of an all-star nod.
Couldn't be more deserving. Here's the thing I love about him. First of all, he seems to really love coming on our show.
Yeah.
So I love that about him.
That's his most redeeming quality right there.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Stacy here, and if you're like me, you've been thinking about making a big new or used car purchase soon, and you probably have some mixed feelings about it. Excited trepidation is what I like to call it. Obviously excited for a new shiny vehicle with all the bells and whistles, but at the same time nervous because the process of buying a car is so complicated. I don't want to go into a dealership and feel pushed or worse, get ripped off. So we had Mark, GM of Wayscar Ford in Auburn, come into our studio to talk about that exact subject. He was candid and saying he doesn't want to feel pressured either, and his salespeople understand that feeling and are trained just on that. So they give you all the information up front, like sending you a video of the car before you even come to the dealership. I told him I appreciated that, so I'd recommend all you car shoppers listening to look up Wayscar Ford in Auburn. They're even running a big sale right now to commemorate their 102-year anniversary. That's Wayscar Ford Isuzu in Auburn.
Guys, did you know your testosterone affects everything in your system, including how you feel and perform every day? Right now, Revive Men's Health Seattle will check your testosterone for free. Knowing your T levels is the first step in understanding if you have low T. Your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED. Maintaining an appropriate T level can change your whole life. Most men start to see changes in their hormone levels in their 30s. Experience and results matter. So what are you waiting for? Get your T levels checked today by local, experienced, and trusted men's health experts. They've helped thousands of men since 2011. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Call Revive today and schedule your free testosterone test, free exam, and free consultation. Call Revive Men's Health at 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Don't miss the Seattle and Minnesota series this week. It's brought to you by Sound Credit Union. Visit soundcu.com or slide into a branch near you. Sound Credit Union, banking for all walks of life. soundcu.com.
Tired of a boring backyard? State Roofing's expert team can help you create the perfect deck before summer hits. We'll make sure your deck is the envy of the neighborhood. Call State Roofing at 866-ROOF-ROOF or visit stateroofing.com for a free estimate. That's stateroofing.com.
The IRS deadline has come and gone. So do you owe money to the IRS? If so, you need an ally. Whether you owe the IRS $6,000 or $600,000, whether your tax problems are personal or business, the professionals at Allies Tax Relief are ready to step in and negotiate your fresh start with the IRS. Here's a happy customer of Allies Tax Relief.
Before calling Allies Tax Relief, I feared the IRS would take all of my assets. I owed them over $562,000. Thankfully, I was referred to Allies and called them for help. They ultimately saved my life from uncertainty. Allies negotiated my giant tax debt to an unbelievable $1,500. They are professionals and they fight the fight for their clients.
Allies Tax Relief will protect your assets from being seized and your paycheck from being garnished. Call right now for your free consultation. 800-296-0772. That's 800-296-0772. Or visit AlliesTaxRelief.com.
Listen throughout the week to the Mariners Player Spotlight.
Give props to Jerry and Justin. They did a great job bringing in these good group of guys.
Presented by Muckleshoot Casino Resort.
Lexus is electrified, and the first ever RZ450e has the performance and range to get you where you need to go with the exclusive Lexus Direct 4 all-wheel drive technology. Lexus of Bellevue has over 50 RZs available for immediate delivery with electrifying savings up to $17,000 lease cash on every RZ450e. Visit LexusofBellevue.com.
On approval of credit through LFS. Lease cash from Lexus available on select 2024 RZ styles. Must take delivery by July 1st, 2024. A documentary service fee up to $200 may be added to the purchase price or capitalized costs. See dealership for details.
Hey, it's Shannon O'Kelly, President and CEO of IRG Physical and Hand Therapy, inviting you to come to work for IRG. With just over 40 locations in the beautiful Pacific Northwest, you have the opportunity to work in the city and place you want with a great team, a great atmosphere, and great mentorship.
Shannon, what type of staff are you looking to hire? Is it just clinical staff right now?
We are looking to hire not only physical therapists, but also occupational therapists, exercise techs, athletic trainers, front office coordinators. We have a whole platform of different services we provide to the community.
Over 40 clinics in the Pacific Northwest. There are openings across the whole company. Head over to irgpt.com/careers and apply today. But Shannon, will they have any fun coming to work at IRG?
Oh my gosh, Brock, that's what it's all about. We want to have fun. We're all about passion. We're all about positivity. We want people to change lives. That's what we're doing here at IRG. We're changing lives, not only of our employees, our patients, and our communities. We want you to be your best self.
So head over to irgpt.com/careers, irgpt.com/careers, and apply today.
Arbor Barber Tree Service reminds parents to talk with your teenage drivers about the dangers of distracted driving and texting behind the wheel. Make a family agreement to never drive under the influence of alcohol or drugs, or ride with a driver who is. Always designate a sober driver, use a ride share, or call a parent for a safe ride home. Best wishes to the class of 2024 from the entire team at Arbor Barber Tree Service, Washington's #1 tree service. Online at arborbarber.com.
This is Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Taking a look around the NFL, we are going to start with the entire situation happening in San Francisco with Brandon Ayuk. ESPN's Ryan Clark said that Brandon had a special guest with him at a recent taping of Clark's The Pivot podcast. That special guest, that would be Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels.
When he was sitting with The Pivot, he said that he's taking these negotiations personal, that the way that they have negotiated with him, the way that they have told him why he's worth what he's worth, it has touched him. It has affected him. He says he wants to be in San Francisco first, but is comfortable playing elsewhere if that's something that the San Francisco 49ers are willing to do via trade. And I will tell you this, when he sat with us, he did not walk into the room alone. First, it was Brandon Ayuk. Second, it was Jaden Daniels. I'm not a tea leaf reader, but the way that sounds is that Brandon Ayuk wouldn't mind playing in Washington.
You think he's angling for a trade to Washington or just kicking it with a friend?
I think he's angling for a trade to Washington. And I say that because Jaden Daniels and Brandon Ayuk, I believe, briefly played together at ASU. And they've been pretty tight throughout all this. Would I love to see Brandon Ayuk out of the NFC West? Absolutely, I would. That would be incredible for the Seahawks' chances going forward. And I feel like if you're the Commanders, you've got new ownership, you've got a new quarterback. I mean, you've already got Terry McLaurin there. You add Brandon Ayuk to that. You're looking at a pretty good offense, I would imagine. I mean, the Commanders are probably in a spot where it's like, yeah, we got to make something happen. But I don't know if the 49ers are willing to let Brandon Ayuk go. But, hey, I would not be shocked to see him in Washington one day.
I'm just trying to blow through this. This is the only story I care about today. According to Tom Pelissero on Twitter, the Kansas City Chiefs and Hallmark are teaming up with the NFL and Skydance Sports for an original movie titled Holiday Touchdown, A Chiefs Love Story, starring Tyler Hines, Hunter King, and Ed Begley Jr. Begley? Who cares? Begley. The movie begins production next month and will film entirely in Kansas City. This is the summary of it. Holiday Touchdown. Elena is sure that her family's lifelong history as Chiefs superfans makes them a frontrunner to win the team's Fan of the Year contest. Derek is director of fan engagement, and he's tasked with evaluating how Elena and her family stack up against the other two finalists. Can I also say a Hallmark classic is never that it's the person you think, it's the person who's orchestrating. So, like, if the movie is that it's a woman who's a baker, the person she will fall in love with is not going to be the opposing baker. It's going to be like the judge or the reporter writing a column about it. I'm just letting you guys know how this works. As the pair spends time together, it's clear there's a spark between them. Classic. But when her grandfather's vintage Chiefs good luck winter hat goes missing, she begins to doubt everything she believed about fate, destiny, and even questions her future. Unless that is a little Christmas magic can throw a Hail Mary.
All because her grandfather lost a hat?
I don't know.
If a family member lost a hat, I'd be like, oh, darn, we'll get you a new hat. This seems far-fetched, but it's a Hallmark movie, of course it's far-fetched.
Basically what it is Hallmark getting an okay from the Chiefs to be like, can we film at your stadium and also use a ton of your equipment and logo? And
there is the Venn diagram of Taylor Swift fans and Hallmark movies. I think there's some crossover there.
Maybe. Hallmark fans,
and with
in my
Taylor
mind,
Swift
are
fans
older.
come Kansas City Chiefs fans.
That's true.
What is the most identifiable team right now to a woman who has like very little interest in the football? It's in football. It's Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah.
My favorite thing also is when you have movies like this, the sports knowledge is like not even 101. It's like the class that you would take to make sure that you could go take 101. So it's going to be like some stupid joke about, not like, what are you, Patrick Mahomes, when he like makes a shot or like does something.
Whenever movies like this get made, I hope that there are some football scenes in this, and not actual football scenes, like not NFL Films footage.
Yeah.
But like actors who are trying to portray football players.
Yes.
And just looking at their throwing motions and how they run, and it's like, you're really trying to pass this off as football. Like, remember that movie that got made about Kurt Warner's life? Who was the actor that played Kurt Warner? I think it was like Zachary Levi, I think was his name.
God. Oh, the one who
like American Underdog or something like that.
Quinto.
I think he was in Star Trek, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Zachary Quinto.
I was thinking of a very different actor.
And it was Zachary Levi in American Underdog.
Yeah. And looking at the football scenes in that movie, you could tell that he had never seen a football in his entire life. I hope the football acting is as bad as that in Holiday Touchdown, A Chiefs Love Story on Hallmark.
Next up, cornerback Tay Haynes was released Monday by the Jets, one day after he was arrested in Alabama for possession of marijuana. He was booked at 3:46 a.m. on Sunday, released less than 2 hours later on a $300 bond. In Alabama, the possession charge is a second-degree misdemeanor.
It's that time of year.
It's also like
everybody getting arrested.
This is how I feel about it. you should be following your team rules and being very, very careful. And maybe the team released him because they're like, look, follow team rules. It's not that difficult. If you know you can't do something, then don't do it. I also don't forget, but still am surprised sometimes when there's such discrepancy in recreational laws around marijuana in different states.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of confusion too. It's the same with like gambling laws, like sports gambling laws in this country, where just because it's legal in one state does not make it legal everywhere.
Right, which seems so obvious, but I think obviously someone hearing this is going, it's marijuana, who cares? But I think that there's a team who goes,
still the law.
Well, there's the law, and then I think there's a team that goes, hey, if you couldn't sacrifice not doing this or not having this for 4 weeks, then you must not care enough about being on this team.
Yeah, I think it was a very avoidable situation with all parties.
The 206. Hey now, Stacey, there are young Hallmark fans, movie fans, dozens of us. Dozens! Next up, the jury in the class action lawsuit that's been filed by Sunday Ticket subscribers against the NFL will begin deliberations tomorrow. The class action suit, which covers 2.4 million subscribers, as well as almost 50,000 businesses, claims that the league broke antitrust laws by selling its package of Sunday games aired on CBS and Fox at an inflated price. You remember when part of this came out that ESPN wanted to do a partnership with them and offer Sunday Ticket for $70?
Yeah.
Or 50 or 70?
$70 for the whole thing. And then they also would have allowed for single team streaming. Like, hey, I just want to buy the Seahawks package this year. I don't care about every other team.
Yeah, because I don't.
Like, that would have been such a great deal.
I know.
That ESPN, and then Roger Goodell was like,
My only thing is, I do kind of see it as, look, end of the day, they have a product that is incredibly in demand, very lucrative, and it's their choice. I don't understand enough about the antitrust laws around it, but it's their choice if they decide that they want to partner with DirecTV to make Sunday Ticket prohibitively expensive, because people will pay for it, and they do. And so that's the NFL being like, hey, guess what? Capitalism works for us. We don't care if you want it cheaper because we know that you'll spend more. Obviously, I understand that antitrust laws are what make this tricky, not just a company doing what it wants, but
it's also interesting, too, seeing somebody push back against the NFL. That never happens. Like, the NFL just throws their weight around all the time.
Nelson and Kent says that Keuchel trade you mentioned was just cash.
Okay, how are you going to use that cash?
Great follow-up, Curtis.
How are you going to use that cash?
We all have questions, including you guys. So get those questions in for What I Need to Know to the Mac and Jacks text line, 866-979-3776. Again, any question, text it to the Mac and Jacks text line, 866-979-3776.
Seattle Sports, your home for Brock and Salk.
Jeff Passan joins us every Tuesday.
I'll be really curious to see how aggressive Houston is. They're going to be competitive. They're going to stay in it, and I don't think anyone, Mariners included, ever counted them out. If there was like a stew that was going to brew to force the Mariners to do something super aggressive at the deadline, everything is coming together and conspiring for the Mariners to do something very un-Mariner-like at this deadline.
Streaming on your smart speaker.
Many homes throughout our area lack proper insulation in their attic and crawl space. Hi, this is Colin from Puget Sound Energy. At PSC, we want every home to be energy efficient, so we partnered with PSC recommended energy professionals like Crawl Pros to properly insulate attics and crawl spaces and bring them up to today's energy efficiency standards. If your home was built before 1990, you may be eligible for PSC rebates that cover up to 95% of your cost. Here's Richard Herron, the owner of Crawl Pros, for more information on how you can take advantage of these terrific rebates.
Thanks, Colin. These truly are the most aggressive utility rebates we've seen since Crawl Pros started working with PSE over a decade ago. Don't miss this opportunity to have PSE cover a large portion of your attic or crawl space insulation job. To take advantage of these programs, schedule your free estimate at crawlpros.com. We'll walk you through the rebate program your home qualifies for and get your attic or crawl space project scheduled immediately. That's crawlpros.com.
Hey, it's Dave Wyman with Dr. Mark Wagner, MD, from Seattle Sports and Regenerative Medicine. Dr. Wagner is hosting a free stem cell webinar this Wednesday night at 6 to explain how stem cell therapy works.
I'm really looking forward to this live webinar to educate on how using your own stem cells can be an extremely successful method to help regenerate native tissue in rotator cuffs, meniscus tears, and reduce pain in osteoarthritic joints.
And which joints have you seen good success with?
Shoulders, elbows, hips, knees, even wrists and ankles. And in this live webinar, we'll tell you all about the procedure, how simple and safe it is using your own stem cells, and how we determine if you're a candidate.
Dr. Wagner has performed over 20,000 stem cell procedures. Are you in pain? Join him this Wednesday night at 6 o'clock for the free stem cell webinar and learn all about this amazing procedure. Register now at drmarkwagnermd.com. That's drmarkwagnermd.com.
I lock up my Old Spice Fiji aluminum-free dry spray to keep that 24/7 lasting freshness safe for myself. Fresh coconuts, palm trees in the wind. It's like catching waves in Fiji. Actually, I just talked myself into a refreshing spritz of Fiji. My Old Spice is missing! No!
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? On America's birthday weekend? Why not stop by America's #1 brakes destination? Right now, you can save 15% when you buy a set of OE quality Duralast pads and rotors, and up to 50% when you bundle Shop Pro brake cleaner and brake fluid with Sil Glide brake lubricant. It's just part of our 4th of July sale at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Do you know a woman who gives her all to the sports community, encourages diversity, and empowers those around her? Shannon Dreyer here. Seattle Sports is once again partnering with the Seattle chapter of WISE, which stands for Women in Sports and Events. We want to recognize a woman in our community, and we need your help in finding her. Nominations for the 3rd Annual Women of Inspiration Award are open until July 12th. The winner will receive a donation to the cause of their choice. Nominate an inspiring woman at WOISeattle.org.
Call or click 811 before you dig. Anything that causes you to roll up your sleeves a little and dig in requires you to first connect with 811. Call or click 811 and visit safeexcavator.com.
Hey, Brock Ewart here with my buddy Dave Taylor from First Mark Insurance. You know, Dave, I love sport. You love sport. And I love sitting with coaches and hearing their game plan each and every week. What are the keys to a First Mark Insurance game plan?
It's a great question, Brock. I think there's really 3 keys to a great game plan with us. Number 1 is we want to make sure that our clients have the correct coverage for their unique specific needs. So that's number 1. Do you have the right coverage? Number 2, once we have the right coverage, are we getting that coverage at the most competitive price possible? And then last and not least would be, once we have the right coverage at the most competitive price, are we providing world-class service to those customers so that when they need it, they have someone there that's got their back?
Those are the 3 keys to a First Mark Challenge victory. And man, am I so glad Molly and I took the challenge. We are one of so many through a decade plus of being a First Mark Challenge victory. You can too. Just simply go to firstmarkinsurance.com. Firstmarkinsurance.com.
Oh, how nice is it to have these long days back? Mike Salk here, and it really does make waking up for this show at 4 a.m. a whole lot easier when it's already a little bit light outside. And then after work, maybe even sneak in 18 holes all before that late sunset. Well, you know who else loves these long days? Riverside Roofing and all their customers. Long sunny days, that means they can turn around jobs more quickly. Have a roof project that you've been kicking around? Call Riverside Roofing and get on their schedule now. They're cranking out jobs all over Western Washington. I've heard from customers texting into the show who've trusted them, and I myself have been such a pleased, proud customer. The sooner you decide, the sooner you can have this project done, and additionally, you can handpick the best roofing company on the market. For me, that's Riverside Roofing. Go to riversideroofingllc.com right now and get a quick quote on your project. It won't even take 60 seconds. It's Riverside Roofing, family-owned and Master Elite GAF certified. Riverside Roofing, the roofing company you can trust.
This is Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
It's What I Need to Know, brought to you by Cookies Country Chicken. So get your questions, any question, into the Mac and Jack's text line, 866-979-3776. Curtis, hope you got a list up of the Mariners prospects, because here we go. Hypothetically, says one listener, if the Mariners do trade for Pete Alonso, Who do you think the Mariners will have to give up for him?
Have to give up. So, Colt Emerson is somebody that has been really climbing the charts. I talked to Kylie McDaniel a couple weeks ago on Extra Innings, and he had him in his like top 12 prospects in all of baseball.
Wow.
So I'm firmly saying no on Colt Emerson. I think he is somebody I would not move in a trade. I think if you are starting any trade package right now, I think Jonathan Clase would be somebody who I would involve in a trade, regardless of whoever it is that they are acquiring. And then that'd be kind of like my base. And then after Clase, I mean, Harry Ford, I love the guy, but if they're able to work out something with Cal Raleigh long term,
right,
then Harry Ford's blocked as a catcher. Maybe you look to move him off of catcher and go somewhere else. But if that's what it's gonna take to get Pete Alonso, I think Harry Ford probably is in there. Johnny Farmello, you're probably not going to be able to move because he's out for the year, torn ACL. But like Harry Ford, Ty Pete, Jonathan Clase, something like that.
Okay.
That would be my package.
This is a more important question.
Okay.
What I need to know, do you use your blinker at a roundabout?
No.
No. That's insane.
Because there's no choice but to go the
it
way of
becomes
traffic.
a brief, like, one-way street.
You can't go the other way. There's no question of which way you're going unless you are doing it incredibly wrong.
I mean, you could
everybody
turn on
in
your
harm.
blinker to turn right and take the first right, in which case you're just turning right.
I guess, yeah, to signal which portion of the roundabout you're exiting. But
If
even
it's
then,
a big
I
roundabout where you're kind of driving on it and then so much so that you have to then turn on your blinker to signal where you're going, nope, it's a surprise for you. You just get to find out.
You know I'm going to exit at some point.
You get to find out when I do where I'm exiting that roundabout. What I need to know, what's the single best sporting event you have ever attended live that you actually remember?
Ever attended live that I remember? Super Bowl 54. Chiefs 49ers Part 1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's
That's the only
really
Super Bowl
good
I've
one.
ever attended. It was a really good game, too.
Mine, sentimentality reasons would be the Mariners A's, Cal Raleigh's home run
Yeah.
to send the Mariners to the postseason.
That's a good one, too.
It was just an elated crowd. It was, you kind of sensed that it was coming, but maybe not in the almost like movie quality way that it did. It was very cool.
Somebody, no matter which prospect you mention, people are like, you're insane. 509, giving up Ty Pete for a rental would be insanity. Would it? Because you have like 5 other shortstops in your system that are Ty Pete's age and are just as good, maybe if not better. Like, I don't think there's anything insane in giving up one of those middle infield prospects.
See, this one says package Cal. He's a sub 200 hitter with occasional pop. His stock's high, then bring up Ford. But you can't bring up Ford this year. So what do you do about Cal's home run production, which I know has stalled, but what do you do about that this year?
Right.
Is my thing.
Does Harry Ford have the capabilities of hitting 30-plus home runs?
You
at the
literally
major
have
league
no
level?
clue.
Right.
So, what I need to know, oh my God, so many people absolutely
Lot of
use a
blinker
Oh my
users
God, you
in
guys,
roundabouts.
calm down. I think that no matter what I would have said, I would have gotten someone saying the opposite. It's just, part of it is just, yeah, Stacey, you're so stupid. 206, who's the best Disney villain?
Best Disney villain ever?
Cruella de Vil had a coat, so
right.
she was into fashion.
I mean, she wanted to kill puppies. That's pretty deranged behavior.
Ursula. Now,
Just
Ursula
wanted to be pretty and liked, right?
Right, and that's very relatable. She had a creative approach to villainy.
Yeah, give me your voice,
Yeah.
and I'll let you walk around on land.
I love a woman in charge who knows what she wants.
Underrated Disney villain, Ernesto de la Cruz from Coco.
Yeah, such a good movie. I cry
You
every
don't
time.
think he is the villain for a lot of it, and then at the end, it's like, oh my gosh, this guy's
so
a
good.
monster.
So good.
I love that plot twist. It's great.
I mean, spoiler alert.
Yeah, I know.
But it's been out for
Sorry.
many years.
Yeah, it's
so.
been out for probably more than 10 years now.
But yeah, definitely worth checking out. Very good movie.
Yes.
I really enjoyed it. What I need to know, why do teams wait until July to trade? We need help now. Or late July, excuse me, to trade. Basically, why do they wait? Why wait until the trade deadline if you need help?
Well, I think it's mainly because the teams that are looking to offload players can get the most for their players by getting it as close to the deadline as possible.
Yeah.
Like, they want to force teams into their most desperate situation possible, where it's like, you didn't want to give up your top prospect, but you've also lost 5 in a row, so are you going to blink and give me that prospect now? That's kind of that's why teams wait as long as they do.
Yeah. Get your questions in 866-979-3776. It's going to be all Mariners from 1 to 2, by the way. I know we're doing this an hour earlier, but we're not going anywhere. Shannon's going to join us in like 10 minutes. You're getting a lot of flack for the prospects you're willing to part ways with.
Okay, like, you have to give up something to get something, people. That's how trades work in any professional sport. You're not going to give up Jorge Polanco, Mitch Garver, and Mitch Haniger for
Luis Robert?
Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
That's not how trades work. Get uncomfortable, I beg of you.
866-979-3776. Send your questions or hate in to the Mac and Jacks text line. Pancakes, French toast, or waffles? The correct answer is...
I'm going waffles.
The correct answer is actually pancakes, and they don't get enough love. Waffles can be dry. You can have one of them. Pancakes, you can get a short stack. They're so good. They absorb it like little butter sponges.
I don't want my syrup to be absorbed. I want it to pool up. I want it to be...
I want my syrup to be part of the pancake and later part of me.
French toast, there's too many steps in making it. You've got to, dip it in the egg bath and then grill it, and it's a whole process.
Let's see what I need to know. Fred and Birch Bay, what did you proudly achieve when there were those who doubted you? My boyfriend would say doing the 9 dogs in 9 innings challenge.
You did that?
No, he did that. I didn't think he could do it.
Okay. It's like, wow,
I can't think of anything.
Did the 9 for 9?
I mean, there are serious answers of working in a male-dominated, but that's boring. Oh man.
I'm just saying, if you're out there doubting people in your life,
you need to get a hobby,
right?
Unless it's joking.
Why are you hating on?
Now, if you're someone where it's like your friend says they could absolutely run a 4.40, and you're like, no, you couldn't.
No,
that's a different kind of doubt. That's a doubt that's like, prove it, bro.
Somebody that's like, I want to get to the top of my field in this number of years. Why would you be like, good luck with that?
I think some people relish hating other people. Like, they truly have such a deep-seated insecurity and hate of themselves that they don't know how to express themselves other than to project that onto other people.
Yeah.
I think that's just how some people function. Unless your friend thinks he can run a 4.40.
Turn your haters into motivators.
We're not going anywhere. In fact, Shannon Dreyer is joining us next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
Logan Gilbert, in his last 2 starts, has gone 16 combined innings, given up a total of 6 hits, 0 runs, 1 walk, and 15 strikeouts. He has been ridiculous. He is the most deserving member of this entire Mariners roster of an all-star nod.
Couldn't be more deserving. Here's the thing I love about him. First of all, he seems to really love coming on our show.
Yeah.
So I love that about him.
That's his most redeeming quality right there.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
It's Dave Wyman for R&R Foundation Specialist. R&R Foundation Specialist doesn't just restore and repair settling foundations. They're also able to pull retaining walls back into place. Erosion of soil and poor installation are just a couple of reasons retaining walls begin to fail. So if you have a retaining wall on your property that is leaning or cracked, you can save thousands by having R&R Foundation Specialist restore the wall rather than dealing with the enormous cost of replacement. R&R drives steel piers horizontally deep into the soil to re-anchor the wall and put it back into place. They also use incredibly strong carbon fiber straps to repair cracks and restore the structural integrity of the slab. This solution even works on seawalls. So if you suspect your foundation is settling or have a retaining wall that's leaning, it's important to have it fixed properly. Have R&R Foundation Specialist come out for free and tell you what the issue is like they did for me. Schedule your free estimate at rrfoundationspecialist.com.
Tired of a boring backyard? Want to impress your neighbors and friends with a stunning outdoor space? State Roofing has just what you need. Hi, I'm Sam Thomason, owner of State Roofing. Our expert team at State Roofing can help you create the perfect deck. From custom designs to flawless installation, we'll make sure your deck is the envy of the neighborhood. So why settle for a boring backyard when you can have the best? Contact us now to get started. Call State Roofing at 866-ROOF-ROOF or visit stateroofing.com.
Hey, don't miss the Harnish Auto Family Road Trip Sales event going on now. Test drive any vehicle and enter for your chance to win a $500 road trip package. Go to harnishautofamily.com to find a dealership near you. Harnish Auto Family. People matter. See dealership for details.
I call myself a confident backseat driver. Mom, brakes, please.
Gotcha.
But I'm less confident in the economy.
Same here, buddy.
Thankfully, Les Schwab Tires helps make sure that our safety never takes a backseat, even when we're watching our wallets.
Roll into summer. Save up to $200 instantly on a wide selection of tires and wheels. Les Schwab Tires. Limited time offer. Terms and conditions apply. Details at leschwab.com/sale.
Guys, did you know your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED? And right now, Revive Men's Health Seattle will check your testosterone for free. They've helped thousands of men since 2011 feel and perform better. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Schedule your free testosterone test, exam, and consultation today. Call 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
What do thousands of students that rely on free school lunches do during the summer? It's G. Scott here. Sunbucks is a SNAP program that provides free, healthy food when school is out. If you could use the help, simply fill out the form online to determine eligibility for $120 of free food per child. This message is presented by Safeway, where customers can use SNAP to match their produce purchases as well as shop online. Learn more at hungerfreewashington.org/summer-EBT.
It's the easy way to donate your car. Donate today and your car can be picked up tomorrow. Call 877-CARS-FOR-KIDS today or donate online at carsforkids.com. Remember, that's cars with a K. carsforkids.com. Miller Lite has your chance to win a Miller Lite varsity style jacket. Just log on to MillerLite.com/Bigfoot, where you can chat with Bigfoot, uncover tales of the Northwest, and enter to win a Miller Lite varsity style jacket. Head to MillerLite.com/Bigfoot. No purchase necessary. Starts 4/9/2024, ends 8/30/2024. Residents of Alaska, Idaho, Oregon, Washington, 21 plus. Official rules at MillerLite.com/Bigfoot for free entry method, odds, and restrictions. Molson Coors Beverage Company, USA LLC, 250 South Wacker Drive, Chicago, Illinois, USA, 60606.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
What makes you so different than the rest of us?
We ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Tell me more.
Our investment counselors focus on service over sales, prioritizing clients' needs.
How do you make money?
We don't sell any commission-based products. We have a simple management fee based on the value of our client's portfolio. So we do better when our clients do better.
What about client portfolios?
We get to know each client, their finances, family, health, lifestyle, and more, and then we tailor a portfolio based on their specific goals and needs.
Your clients really come first then, huh?
Yes, we make them a top priority. Our goal is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Wow, maybe we are different.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports. Seattle Sports Snapshot.
Celtics center Kristaps Porzingis, who played through a leg injury during Boston's championship run, will miss the Olympics and instead undergo surgery. He was set to compete for Team Latvia in Paris. The Mariners dropped an ugly game to the Rays in their series opener yesterday, but you know how you bounce back with a win today and tomorrow. First pitch today is at 3:50 p.m. Then you got an early one tomorrow for that series finale. It's a 9:10 a.m. first pitch.
Snapshot, brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time.
This is The Dugout. Every Tuesday at 1 with Bump and Stacy. Inside access to the clubhouse from Shannon Drayer on Seattle Sports, the home of the Mariners.
All right, joining us now on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline, it is Mariners insider Shannon Drayer. And Shannon, Curtis and I started the show many, many hours ago by talking about the Mariners as almost being at the midterm, right? 81 games into the season. We decided to give them a couple grades. What grade would you give them for the season so far?
Incomplete.
That is fair.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can see what's going on with the club. I mean, the offense has never kicked into gear. The starting pitching has been carrying things, but they've been a little bit vulnerable here and there. The big inning has gotten them at times, but, you know, I'm not going to really grade down the pitching at all when you take into consideration that they are pitching with virtually no leads or barely any leads most of the time. I mean, it's obvious. They need help with the offense, and they need help with the bullpen as well. But, you know, when I look at the club right now, and when I looked at the club last week, and when I looked at the club a month ago, I didn't see the club that I'm going to see, or I expect or think that you will see at the end of the season. So for me, if you're grading for the mid-season, you're pretty much grading to determine, A, can the team make a push in the second half, and B, what do they need? I think those needs are very obvious.
You mentioned multiple needs. Of those, which one would you prioritize the most?
Wow. You know, it's changed a little bit, and maybe not in a direction that I would have seen it. And what's funny is it goes back to what I said the very first week of the off season. And this is going to sound a little bit crazy. I mean, because obviously you need a bat, and you are prioritizing. If you go after a bat, you should get some sort of a bat. That has to happen. But I don't know that enough attention is paid to what you need on the pitching side. And when the off season started, when I looked at it all and go get this bat and go get that bat, I said double down on the pitching, triple down on the pitching, because that's what's going to get you there. And that's where you can make up the most distance against the other teams. Now, that didn't play out the way the other team's part did, the way I expected, because I expected to see the Texas Rangers with much more offense than they've shown this year. Not an offense that they've shown that is very similar in numbers to the Mariners' offense. And the same with the Astros. But then again, you have to look at it and say, where are they at? Are they going to all of a sudden explode offensively? But you obviously need one more, and that includes bringing Santos back and possibly, you know, going to the minors for help too. You need another leverage arm in that bullpen. But I really wonder if you need another starter too. And, you know, we've seen Brian Wu have, you know, trouble staying on the field, and that is, you know, I have no qualms with how they are handling him, and I'm especially appreciative of the fact that he is careful as well. And we don't have the word on the hamstring yet, but that very well may be better than we expect. I know nothing, but I do know that he got himself out of there as fast as possible, that he shut it down as fast as possible. But you see some of the struggles that Bryce Miller has, and he's a young pitcher. He's supposed to have struggles. Logan Gilbert that we see right now was not Logan Gilbert his second year pitching. And so that leaves you vulnerable if you are relying on just your top three guys. What if something happens to one of them? Right. So it sounds insane, but starting pitching is on the list now. And, you know, you need it all. You need it all.
I am assuming starting pitching being on the list makes it less likely you can make a big swing at a player like Luis Robert.
Well, that's where why I'm not prioritizing. You can't get there without starting pitching. You have starting pitching right now, so that is probably me being ultra cautious that maybe you need to back that up somehow. But, you know, as far as Luis Robert, I'll go ahead and say, yeah, I think they can. It's just you're going to have to give up a lot more if you want both. They have all sorts of pieces right now in the minors. And for the record, I'm not convinced Luis Robert is the person that you want, because you need somebody right now. And with his health history, that to me, I'm not sure if you can afford. Now, if you're getting him for the remainder of his contract in the next few years, absolutely no problem. But if you are getting him to win in October this year, then I'm a little bit worried about that. Then I think maybe you need to go after somebody that you feel a little bit better about health-wise, and you have to look at whoever it is very long and hard, because just about everybody that you've brought in, not everybody, but offensive players have come over to this team and struggled. So to me, that's going to be the toughest move. You feel good about anything that you bring over pitching-wise, but the fact that you're going to be giving up capital, both in players and dollars, with less of a guarantee on the hitting side, that's a tough move to make. But they, without question, have the players to pull off deals like that.
Shannon, do you think that this latest injury to Brian Wu, and then also the Emerson Hancock back injury that he suffered last week, might make the Mariners reconsider moving Logan Evans to the bullpen?
I've been wondering about that. I think that's a possibility. Although, where he's at right now, that's a tough thing. If you've taken him out of the starting role and you've asked him to relieve, and that's his fastest path to the bigs, but maybe that is no longer his fastest path to the bigs. And I guess Logan Evans is going to want to do whatever that is. And if that is as a starter, maybe you look at that. But again, if you do that, is that what you're depending on in October? And getting a young pitcher like Logan Evans to October, let alone through October, that's no sure thing either. So I don't know. I think if you really feel that he could be of most help in the bullpen right now, I think probably you keep him there, and they're going to need all sorts of help. I mean, you can never have too many leverage arms in that bullpen. So would they think about it? Probably. I'm not sure that would be the best move at this point.
Hey, Shannon, I was hoping to get back to that relationship between offense and pitching. Obviously, if you're a pitcher and you're out there, or if you're an infielder, outfielder on defense, it's your job to do your job, right? You can't look at an offense that's getting 3 hits and going, you're why I allowed 6 runs. But I also think those two things might be more closely connected than we're giving them credit for. Do you?
Oh, absolutely. It takes pressure innings off of them. And Logan Gilbert, the term that he uses is it gives him freedom. And that means that, not every pitch he's looking over his shoulder thinking that, if I'm not perfect with this, or it gives them freedom if they have a few run lead as opposed to 1 run lead in how he does approach or attack the hitters as well. So I think, it's stress innings are a thing. And when you look at stress innings, it's usually because, they've got runners on base, but it's also, what are they protecting at that point? And so when they're being asked to do that day in and day out, that's a problem. When, especially, you look at the bullpen and you look at, I think Andres Munoz now has 8 outings that he has had an up down in, that he has, there's been 4 or more run save attempts. That's hard for a reliever. He's coming in with no room for error if he's doing that. He's coming in with runners on base. And usually your highest leverage arms, every now and then you need them to come in and put out a fire, but he's the only one. You think back to a year ago, you had Brash and you had Munoz doing that. Now he's doing that, and he's the guy, he's the Seawald too at that point. He's coming back the next inning. If you have that offense and you have those runs, that is happening much less. So it absolutely affects that.
Shannon, what kind of role do you see for Ryan Bliss now that they have chosen him to stay up on the 26-man roster and sent down Tyler Locklear with the activation of Jorge Polanco? Will we see Bliss get regular ABs, or is he going to be kind of in and out of the lineup?
Well, I think I think they're going to make the attempt to get him some ABs, and by that regular, it's that every day. No, could that be 3 times a week he's in the starting lineup? Perhaps. Right now, you do have to give Jorge Polanco a chance to restart his season, and that's the most likely spot that you are going to put him at. You could put him a little bit at third base. You could move him around. You could, if J.P. Crawford needs a day off, you could put him over there. But then I think you also have to look at that point. Defensively at shortstop, is Dylan Moore better at shortstop right now, or is Ryan Bliss? They said, Scott Service said, hey, we're going to try him out in the outfield a little bit. Well, how often is that actually going to come up? And I think that is probably more likely a situation where he comes into a game late as a pinch runner, then he could run out to left field. I don't think you're going to see him get starts in the outfield. So I do think it is a bit of a challenge, but I think that it is a good challenge for him in that I think he's equipped to do that. And I think that is something that, he could be a future Dylan Moore type player and that he can play at a different spot every day. I don't know, what his future holds if it's every day at one spot, but it's great to have that versatility and with his speed, being able to bring him in late in games. And I do think that, his maturity and his time in the minors, I don't think he is losing what, say, a Tyler Locklear would be losing if you brought him up and you were only playing him once or twice a week. Locklear is still very early in that upper level of the minors. Ryan Bliss has done more and I think has figured out more things. And just observing him up close, he's learning at this level. I think he has shown that ability. So I think that they, get him in there as much as they can, but I don't think it is going to be, it's not going to be a ton. And if it gets to the point where they don't think he's getting enough, you send him back, you get him those everyday at-bats, and we see him later in the season. So I think right now it's a challenge because you have to figure out what's going on with Polanco.
All right. She is Mariners insider Shannon Dreher, kind enough to join us for the Dugout. Thanks so much, Shannon.
Thanks, Shannon.
You got it, guys.
Assistant pitching coach Danny Farquhar joins us next. Don't go anywhere.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
Logan Gilbert, in his last 2 starts, has gone 16 combined innings, given up a total of 6 hits, 0 runs, 1 walk, and 15 strikeouts. He has been ridiculous. He is the most deserving member of this entire Mariners roster of an all-star nod.
Couldn't be more deserving. Here's the thing I love about him. First of all, he seems to really love coming on our show.
Yeah.
So I love that about him.
That's his most redeeming quality right there.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Tingling and numbness or burning pain in the feet or hands are warning signs of peripheral neuropathy. For years, Sound Pain Solutions has helped thousands using our innovative narcotic-free approach. Now we're excited to introduce our most powerful treatment yet. I'm Dr. Mark Shelley, a chiropractic physician and functional neurologist at Sound Pain Solutions. We've discovered a new bioelectrical treatment that produces remarkable results. Studies show 85% of neuropathy sufferers report a 50% reduction in pain. Our new therapy can reduce pain and regenerate damaged nerves. It's performed by medical providers and naturopathic physicians. It's a breakthrough treatment that has changed the lives of thousands who suffer from nerve pain. At Sound Pain Solutions, all our therapies are non-surgical, FDA-cleared, and narcotic-free. Learn if you qualify for our new neuropathy treatment. Schedule a free consultation by visiting soundpainsolutions.com. soundpainsolutions.com.
Want to listen to Seattle Sports on your smart speaker?
Hey, smart speaker, play Seattle Sports.
This message is powered by the EQC Sportsbook at Emerald Queen Casino. Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest.
So, what are you reading?
I'm checking out the ratings on the new TVs, and it looks like Samsung, LG, and Sony got the best scores.
Just like last year. What about those new high dynamic range TVs?
They got the highest scores of all, but their prices are really high.
Did you check online?
Yeah, their prices were about the same.
Well, there's one place where we can get a hot deal on those top-rated models.
Where?
At Video Only. Check out the ratings on TV stores.
I see. Video Only scored better than the others.
So, if you want the best deal on the best TVs,
then we should take our TV ratings and head over to top-rated Video Only.
At Video Only, you won't find huge stores with refrigerators or microwaves, but you will find the best deals on top-rated TVs, soundbars, and monitors. Shop around. Just make sure you visit Video Only, because if you don't,
you'll be sorry.
In South Center, Bellevue, Linwood, Federal Way, and Tacoma, Video Only.
Lexus is electrified, and the first ever RZ 450e has the performance and range to get you where you need to go with the exclusive Lexus Direct 4 all-wheel drive technology. Lexus of Bellevue has over 50 RZs available for immediate delivery with electrifying savings up to $17,000 lease cash on every RZ 450e. Visit lexusofbellevue.com.
On approval of credit through LFS, lease cash from Lexus available on select 2024 RZ styles. Must take delivery by July 1st, 2024. A documentary service fee up to $200 may be added to the purchase price or capitalized costs. See dealership for details.
Mike Salk here for RiversideRoofingLLC.com, where you can enter your address and receive a hassle-free quick quote on your roof replacement within seconds. Do it this spring and save time, money, and get your project done at RiversideRoofingLLC.com, the roofing company you can trust.
You're listening to The Dugout every Tuesday at 1 with Bump and Stacy on Seattle Sports, the home of the Mariners.
The Mariners Spotlight presented by Muckleshoot Casino Resort and by Pacific Lamp and Supply. Mariners assistant pitching coach Danny Farquhar joining us right now. Danny, how's it going?
Hey, it's going great. How are you?
Fantastic. Obviously, Mariners in a good spot right now. I know the AL West lead isn't what it is, but that's baseball, right? And you guys are still hanging on to it with a tough series here on the road, rounding out a road trip. I wanted to start by talking about some of the splits between what the pitching staff has done at home and on the road. I'll start with the positive, which is lights out performances at T-Mobile. I know it's a pitcher-friendly park, but oh my God, can you talk about this rotation, what they've been able to do at their home park?
Yeah, I mean, the rotation has been unbelievable all season long, and obviously it's one of the best in baseball. And chatting with, former teammates, former coaches, first thing they talk about is how incredible our pitching staff is. So it's just like a nice little boost.
Danny, how's Gregory Santos looking? That's a name that Mariners fans have been really intrigued by since he came over in the offseason. I know he threw off the mound recently. How do you think he's looking?
I mean, he threw a live BP down in Miami a few days ago, and I mean, he was 97 to 99 with a wipeout slider. I mean, it was, watching the hitter swings, which at the end of the day, velocity and pitch metrics are cool, but the hitter swings, are the final test of how ready a guy is. And he looked really ready. The swings weren't great.
Well, it's good news. Getting back to the home road splits, you guys have had great road performances. Again, I don't want to sell short that you guys have an important lead in the AL West, but you've seen some of the young guys struggle. What can sometimes be difficult about playing on the road, away from home, maybe especially as a pitcher?
Honestly, I don't, T-Mobile Park is, definitely pitcher friendly. I just think, honestly, when it comes to these games, sometimes it's just the way the ball, goes. Yeah. You put, Julio's, game-tying single to right field, the other day, and the second baseman makes an unbelievable play. Or last night, that 3-2 pitch, from our perspective, it kind of looked like the hitter swung. Mm-hmm. In the dugout, the umpire, checks the swing, says he swung. It's just a completely different outing. Just seems like the ball has just kind of, been a little better for us at Safeco Field. Things have kind of just gone our way a little bit better. But the process is the same. Everything that we're doing is the same. I don't have a great answer.
Danny, one thing you hear a lot of pitchers from past eras talk about is the, I guess, velocity is such a huge thing in today's game with pitchers. The harder you throw, the harder it is to hit you. But there's also, command and mixing speeds and whatnot. I think of guys like Greg Maddux and John Smoltz, who I think have both kind of talked about how if they were pitching in this era, they probably wouldn't be around very long because they can't throw 100 miles an hour. So what do you make of the evolution of pitching over the last decade or so, where it's basically if you're not throwing upper 90s, you're going to have a much tougher time sticking it out at the big league level?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those that the hitters are just constantly getting better. So the pitchers just have to constantly get better. The training for hitters, what they're doing now is unbelievable. compared to what they had, the tools they had in the past. There's machines where you can set up and face a guy, 20 times before even having to get in the box and actually face the guy. Like, it's a machine that has that. And then, understanding swing paths, attack angles on, all this stuff where hitting is, getting advanced. So pitching has to get there too. So guys are, they have more of an understanding on how to create movement with the baseballs, how their bodies work, the training room, the strength, like in the weight room, like everybody understands how to get bigger, faster, stronger, so they're putting in the work, and that's why it's, the best of the best in the world.
Kind of a random fun question, but I have always had a theory that baseball players, more than any other athlete, are the most superstitious athletes. And within baseball, I think pitchers are more superstitious than hitters. Am I right on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think baseball players in general are very superstitious. We'll talk about, one uniform that we wear wins more games than the other, or the socks that we wear, or the shoes, or, it's stuff that, in the grand scheme of things, I'm not sure if it matters or not. I don't know.
But to baseball players, are like, it's a science.
You don't want to take a chance, right?
Right.
If we're hot in one uni, we got to keep wearing it.
That's math.
I love it. Danny, I don't know how much you want to speak on this, but one of your last years playing, it's a clip that has gone viral since the whole Astros banging scheme was found out, and it's a clip of you basically like telling the world, being like, hey, something's going on here. Not specifically the Astros, but like when you were pitching, and maybe even now when you're in the dugout, how quick are you able to pick up on hijinks that are going on with stuff like that?
I think it's just what you're paying attention to. I kind of find myself a little more detail oriented. So if you're paying attention to something, you're more than likely to see something. If you're, paying attention to something else, you might miss something over here. But yeah, I mean, it all matters on what you put your focus on. That day just so happened we were in Houston, and, the White Sox and Astros playing midweek game during the day. The stadium was empty, and I just happened to hear the banging sound coming from their dugout, and it just happened to be a banging sound every time I threw the changeup. And I think after the third one, I was like, all right, something fishy's going on. This isn't coincidence. But if it would have been 40,000 people screaming, probably wouldn't have been able to hear that. Because I would have been so focused on, everything else, and the sound would have been drowned out. Yeah.
Is the assumption just like in that moment, are you livid and you're like, are you kidding me right now? Or are you like, hey, it's the game. Teams just try to find ways to cheat.
In the moment, I was absolutely livid. I was losing my mind.
Yeah.
Just because, I knew that I had, I was kind of tipping my change up, in my delivery. And how I would do that was I would just not do the tip a couple times and then don't even worry about it, because guys will turn it off and shut it down. They'll be like, he's not doing it today, ignore the tip. So I knew that when they were sending it in, that I was throwing the changeup was too soon, that I knew they were getting the signs from the catcher somehow. So from that point forward, I just went like signs as if there was a runner on second base. So I didn't know they were using technology at the time, but yeah, in the moment I was livid. So yeah.
How often do you guys as coaches work with your pitchers in sort of avoiding, tipping your pitches and being like, hey, you're tapping your glove here. You're spinning the ball a little too much. Like how often is that emphasized in your guys' sort of breakdowns after a game?
It's one of those things that it's more of like a kind of monitoring over time. And, for the most part, our guys are pretty consistent in their delivery, and, they're not tipping their pitches. And we want to keep it that way. But yeah, we just monitor as it's going, and you can always see if another team is, onto a guy's pitches, or, if they're relaying from second base. So as that stuff is happening, you see it and you fix it. It's not like, there's nothing to be mad about in the game. It's part of the game.
Yeah.
If you're tipping your pitches and the other team is relaying it, like, get better. Don't tip your pitches.
He is Mariners assistant pitching coach Danny Farquhar, kind enough to join us on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline. Thanks, Danny. It's been fun.
Danny.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate that.
See ya. God, Danny's got me all fired up all over again. Because I'm just thinking about, God, what a cool bit of insight there. But think if you're Danny and you're on the mound, and that, like, oh, maybe I'm rolling this. I'm tipping a little bit of something that's giving away my changeup, and I know that I'm doing that, so I'm not going to do it next time.
Yeah.
And then before you even get ready to pitch, you hear the banging, and you go, how'd they know?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even tip it that time.
Crazy.
I didn't do anything. They must be looking at the catcher, right? And then you look, and there's no one on second. And you're like, who's reading these
How are
pitches?
you in my
and
mind?
how are you? Yeah, like, how do you? I'm just imagining how livid I would be knowing, like, they're signaling, and I don't know how they're signaling this. And obviously, at the time, he doesn't realize that they have this huge camera set up.
Yeah.
I still can't believe Danny's experience is not isolated, and I'm sure there are many pitchers that went through it. I still can't believe how big that scandal was and how little fallout there was.
Took him to a World Series.
Yep. Mariners broadcaster Dave Sims joining us next.
Seattle Sports is your exclusive home for Mariners baseball.
That baby is out of here!
Every strikeout.
Swing and a miss for strike three. Bryce Miller caps his day of 7 scoreless.
Every home run.
Goodbye baseball, he did it! Julio Rodriguez.
Every Mariners win.
And Mitch Haniger, just like the old days. He wins it for the Mariners in the 10th inning.
Stream every game at seattlesports.com or on the Seattle Sports app. We are Seattle Sports.
Hey, it's Dave Wyman with Dr. Mark Wagner, MD, from Seattle Sports and Regenerative Medicine. Dr. Wagner is hosting a free stem cell webinar this Wednesday night at 6 to explain how stem cell therapy works.
I'm really looking forward to this live webinar to educate on how using your own stem cells can be an extremely successful method to help regenerate native tissue in rotator cuffs, meniscus tears, and reduce pain in osteoarthritic joints.
And which joints have you seen good success with?
Shoulders, elbows, hips, knees, even wrists and ankles. And in this live webinar, we'll tell you all about the procedure, how simple and safe it is using your own stem cells, and how we determine if you're a candidate.
Dr. Wagner has performed over 20,000 stem cell procedures. Are you in pain? Join him this Wednesday night at 6 o'clock for the free stem cell webinar and learn all about this amazing procedure. Register now at drmarkwagnermd.com. That's drmarkwagnermd.com.
Can't fix everything for everybody, but you can be there and listen and try to help with what you can. You're there to support them, and that's the best that you can do.
It's this commitment, this philosophy that represents the LJ way.
This is my life. This is my family's life. The people that work here, they're my family. When something's not right with them, it's not right with us. My wife and 3 kids in the house, there's always something wrong with somebody at all times. And if there isn't, then something's wrong. When you have 388 employees, there's never a day that everything is good everywhere. You have to be okay with that. You have to look at that as opportunities to gain a better relationship with people and help them through what they're going through.
The LJ way is the Lee Johnson Auto Family.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single line 1, 5, and 10 gig data plans with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plans offered by T-Mobile and Verizon January 2024.
When you use Bounce dryer sheets and your clothes look amazing, it's the sheet. Less static in your life? Yeah, it's the sheet. Smelling fresher than ever? It's the sheet. Oh, so soft fabric. Ooh la la. It's the sheet. Less wrinkles on your clothes. You know it's the sheet. Bounce dryer sheets. More freshness, more softness. Less static, less wrinkles. It's the sheet.
Many homes throughout our area lack proper insulation in their attic and crawl space. Hi, this is Colin from Puget Sound Energy. At PSE, we want every home to be energy efficient, so we partnered with PSE recommended energy professionals like Crawl Pros to properly insulate attics and crawl spaces and bring them up to today's energy efficiency standards. If your home was built before 1990, you may be eligible for PSE rebates that cover up to 95% of your cost. Here's Richard Herron, the owner of Crawl Pros, for more information on how you can take advantage of these terrific rebates.
Thanks, Colin. These truly are the most aggressive utility rebates we've seen since Crawl Pros started working with PSE over a decade ago. Don't miss this opportunity to have PSE cover a large portion of your attic or crawl space insulation job. To take advantage of these programs, schedule your free estimate at crawlpros.com. We'll walk you through the rebate program your home qualifies for and get your attic or crawl space project scheduled immediately. That's crawlpros.com.
You're listening to The Dugout every Tuesday at 1 with Bump and Stacy on Seattle Sports, the home of the Mariners.
All right, some Mariners injury news. Starter Brian Wu, unsurprisingly, to the IL. It's a 15-day IL. Now, we're going to talk about it a bit more at 1:45, but Curtis, you were looking at the schedule and something stands out to you when it comes to Wu's potential time missed here.
Yeah, they've got quite a few days off coming up. Thursday of this week, Monday of next week, July 8th as well is a day off for them. So they've got 3 days off coming up over the next couple of weeks, to where you may not need a fifth starter for most of Wu's stint on the IL, which I guess if you're looking for a silver lining in this, you may not have to call up a fifth guy. But with Wu heading to the IL, and then you also trade away Dallas Keuchel today to the Milwaukee Brewers, I mean, Emerson Hancock, buddy, wrap that man in bubble wrap.
Do something. Mariners broadcaster Dave Sims joining us now on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline. Dave, welcome. We're happy to have you. We were just talking about Brian Wu heading to the IL. What'd you make of the news, and how do you look at the rotation right now?
Well, can't get anybody else hurt. I feel badly for the kid. It's been a situation for him, sadly. It's like he's chasing his tail.
Yeah.
You know, it goes well, and then something happens. So, yeah, you wish him well. Hopefully he can heal up. But you know, this looks like it's going to be something that could go on for the rest of the season.
Dave,
not real comforting.
we talk.
Yeah, no kidding.
Definitely not. Dave, Stacy and I, we've been talking a lot in the last couple of days about the Mariners' home and road splits, especially with the win-loss record, at home being as great as it is and on the road not being super great. What have you made of their performance on the road this season, being so different than what we're seeing at home?
You know, I wish I had an answer for you. It's, I mean, you look at the numbers. I mean, there's an absolute and obvious fall off. I don't think anybody changes their routine. I mean, you're away from home, but I don't think anything more than that. I mean, it's just one of those crazy things in baseball. I don't see anybody making any drastic or different approaches. It's just not. It's just the way it's working. I mean, and you know, and not everything in baseball is. Not everything you put a number on and say this is the absolute reason. Stuff happens, man.
Hey, earlier Curtis and I were looking at the Mariners as being 81 games into a 162-game season, so we were giving out like midterm grades. And Dave, I was kind of surprised at how many people were looking specifically at Scott Service and then really disappointed. I haven't had these kind of like negative thoughts about Scott Service or negative thoughts about the management of this team. Are you surprised when people are really, really hard on him given what the team has done? Or, I mean, how do you just kind of see the job he's done with this team so far?
How the hell can you be hard on him when they're not hitting?
Dave, you're
I mean,
preaching
are you
to the
kidding
choir.
me? Get out of here. They're 29th in freaking hitting. Come on. They're 26th in runs. You're gonna blame that on the Mariners? Stop it.
Yeah, I don't understand.
yeah.
I think people see it as like, oh, well, if everyone fails a class, it must be the teacher, without recognizing that it's not that simple.
At the best, you know, like even today, I'm looking at the lineup, and and I can just imagine Scott sitting down. How am I going to make? What do I got to do to shake this lineup up? There's a couple of guys there's some movements. I mean, Julio's in the 2 spot. You got Ty France in the 8 hole. They moved Cal up, and Cal hit his first home run in a long time yesterday. And Raley's provided a little bit of punch here and there. But I defy anybody who's out there saying all this stuff. You come in and make it happen, given the parameters and given the personnel that you have. I mean, let's everything in this world does not have something or somebody to blame up. So this is the team. This is the personnel they have. By the way, they are still in first place. Yeah, the lead was double figures. It's coming down to 5.5. But, it ain't over. It's not a disaster. Nobody died. I mean, everybody just take it easy. Please. Come on.
Well said, Dave.
Good grief.
Dave, some big contributors in that Mariners lineup this season have been the guys that they got at the trade deadline last year. Josh Rojas, Dom Canzone, and Ryan Bliss as of late. We obviously have the benefit of hindsight, but what do you make of that trade, almost a year later, and seeing the Mariners benefiting from the trio of guys that they picked up?
Well, I mean, Rojas, it's obvious, has played a hell of a third base, played a few other positions. He's done a nice job. It's not a big home run guy. He's got 4 homers, 15 RBIs. He's got six stolen bases. He pitched right in. I mean, this is not a team that's killing it offensively, plain and simple. It's been beaten to death, but it's the truth. The pitching, runs his ball club. And as long as they can keep the other guys healthy and can't afford any more injuries to that starting rotation, and we'll see what happens. Bliss has done a really good job. I'm curious to see how long Polanco will be in there. I know they're going to pay him. But Bliss has done a nice job. He's provided some energy for the club, tremendous speed. His throwing has been a hell of a lot better. He's got tremendous range defensively. He can get a bunt down, and he's got 4 stolen bases. That's been a plus story.
Hey, I know that we're all looking at this club as needing to add a bat, but would you, if you were in the GM shoes, be looking at an arm as well?
You can make a case for that. I mean, for my money right now, I would prefer somebody who's going to be getting his barrel on the baseball on a consistent basis and driving it out of the ballpark. I think, but you can always use another arm. I mean, there's ways to go. I mean, there's needs. Every team has needs at this point.
Dave, Cal Raleigh got it going last night with a solo home run. Good to see that from him. What have you made of him at the plate, and really just kind of made of the workload he's been asked to carry this season? Because it feels like we have not seen him be asked to do this much in the past.
Guy's a stud. You got a stud, you got to ride him. He's your only double-figure home run guy. He's your home run leader. He's your RBI leader. They lean on him heavily, and you don't want to ride him into the ground, but you got to have somebody in there in the pot. We got him in a 3-hole here today. And hopefully, maybe yesterday's home run as a jump start for him. Let's hope. I mean, great kid, terrific leader, runs the pitching staff beautifully. I mean, he's a plus guy. I don't care that he averages. I mean, I do care, but it doesn't scare me to death that he's hitting 201 when you look at the league average. It's like 240.
Well, right, and you're not looking for your catcher to be hitting 240 per se, right? You would hope that maybe Julio's average would jump up, or maybe you see a little more from JP. But
we're talking.
Yeah.
Now we're talking. So therein lies guys who normally are putting up pretty decent numbers. God love them, but I mean, JP's at 209.
Yeah.
Julio's at 257. Garver's at $175. Ty's at 233. So. And there's your answer right there. If those guys hit close to their norms, or at least their perceived norms, you're going to have something. But until that happens, the pitching will continue to keep the Mariners hopefully atop their division. But then you look at Houston. Houston's 13-7 in June. They've won 5 in a row, 6 of 7, 8 of 11, and they are on the come right now. So, and they're getting a few more people healthy. They're 2 games under 500. So it's good to look at the standings and see Mariners are up 5.5. But, Texas is 6.5 back. Scherzer back, and a couple of Gray and Brown possibly coming back shortly. So this is going to be a hell of a race coming down the stretch, and there's no time to panic. And hopefully, hopefully there could be a move here or there, but you got to hope for the incumbent to start stepping up.
Yeah, no kidding. He is Mariners broadcaster Dave Sims, kind enough to join us for the Dugout. Thanks so much, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
You bet. All right, take care, gang.
See ya. I wanted to save us about a minute here, Curtis, to just kind of react to something that Dave said. So I'd seen the analogy many times of, hey, it's like if all the students are failing a class, you look at the teacher, and another listener sent in to that point, it's like if all the students failed the test, but then they forgot to write their name on the test. Like there is like a certain level of accountability there for the students, in this case for the players. And while I have had many of my own questions about, whether the coaching, the philosophy, everything is just on point, I don't know that I turn to Scott Service with where this club is, with where they've been for the past several seasons, and think he's a problem. That's always been something that stumped me, but maybe I don't get it. I don't know. I'm not hating someone else's opinion. I'm stumped.
Right. I think the ultimate measure of a manager is wins and losses. And the Mariners are winning more often than they're losing, and they've been doing that for the majority of Scott Service's tenure here in Seattle. And you look across Major League Baseball and you're like, well, who could do a better job right now than Scott Service? And I'm not saying Scott is one of the best or I'm not saying that he's like the best manager in baseball. I don't think that to be true, but he's one of the better managers in the game. And if you were to make any sort of managerial switch, which I don't think is happening at all this season because they're in first place, then it's like, who's going to do a better job? Like, you can't just fire somebody and not have a replacement there ready to go. Like, he has earned the right to see this thing through. And, I 100% agree with Dave Sims in saying that Scott Service is the absolute right guy for this job. Exactly. Well, and importantly, an overall philosophy or approach offensively, it's not just, that's the head coach, and you could carry it over as to, Pete Carroll believed this about the Seahawks, and that's what they did, and now with Pete Carroll gone, the philosophy might be different. With the Mariners, it's the entire organization. The philosophy they use is also one Jerry Dipoto has, right? That's how he and Justin draft and sign and whatever players. The entire organization is supporting, believing in, paying tribute to whatever philosophy they have. So if your issue is with that, it's not just because Scott believes it that they're doing it. He's an arm by which this works. Right. All right. Don't forget you can rate, review, and subscribe to the Bump and Stacy podcast. We're available wherever you get your pods, as well as seattlesports.com and the Seattle Sports app. This is the Dugout. All Mariners from 1 to 2, and that means we got 15 more minutes. We're taking a look around MLB, including one superstar walking some Yankee hate back. Wonder why. That's next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Brock and Salk.
Jeff Passan joins us every Tuesday.
I'll be really curious to see how aggressive Houston is. They're going to be competitive. They're going to stay in it, and I don't think anyone, Mariners included, ever counted them out. If there was like a stew that was going to brew to force the Mariners to do something super aggressive at the deadline, everything is coming together and conspiring for the Mariners to do something very un-Mariner-like at this deadline.
Streaming on your smart speaker.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
Texting enrolls you in a reoccurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
10.
Nice work.
Thanks. Taking Nugenix Total T makes a huge difference for me. Nugenix? That's the testosterone booster with TV ads with Frank Thomas, right? Yes. Are they still giving out complimentary bottles? Yes. Nugenix is a great way to feel stronger with more energy and endurance. And as Frank says, you'll like it too.
Text RADIO to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix. Text RADIO to 321-321. That's RADIO to 321-321.
Guys, did you know your testosterone affects everything in your system, including how you feel and perform every day? Right now, Revive Men's Health Seattle will check your testosterone for free. Knowing your T levels is the first step in understanding if you have low T. Your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED. Maintaining an appropriate T level can change your whole life. Most men start to see changes in their hormone levels in their 30s. Experience and results matter. So what are you waiting for? Get your T levels checked today by local, experienced, and trusted men's health experts. They've helped thousands of men since 2011. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Call Revive today and schedule your free testosterone test, free exam, and free consultation. Call Revive Men's Health at 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Hey, Brock Ewart here with my buddy Dave Taylor from First Mark Insurance. So glad, so thankful that Molly and I made the call. Had heard so many First Mark Challenge victories, we needed to take that challenge. What does happen from your perspective when that caller, when that email, when that person reaches out to you for a First Mark Challenge victory?
That's a great question. So there's several steps we go through in the process. The first step is we're going to gather information, find out all we can about that client and what their needs are. The next step is we will go out to the market. We have dozens and dozens of carriers that will compete for the business. At the end of that process, we will then bring those findings back to the customer, show them what we found, and who the eventual winner was in that competition.
And it may be who they're with.
It might be, yes. And sometimes that's the best we can do is recommend they stay where they are, but maybe modify a few coverages to put them in a better position.
So go take that challenge today. Go be the next First Mark Challenge victory. It costs you nothing, and they will be there with you every step of the way. FirstMarkInsurance.com. FirstMarkInsurance.com.
Hey, it's Dave Wyman with Dr. Mark Wagner, MD from Seattle Sports and Regenerative Medicine. Dr. Wagner is hosting a free stem cell webinar this Wednesday night at 6 to explain how stem cell therapy works.
I'm really looking forward to this live webinar to educate on how using your own stem cells can be an extremely successful method to help regenerate native tissue in rotator cuffs, meniscus tears, and reduce pain in osteoarthritic joints.
And which joints have you seen good success with?
Shoulders, elbows, hips, knees, even wrists and ankles. And in this live webinar, we'll tell you all about the procedure, how simple and safe it is using your own stem cells, and how we determine if you're a candidate.
Dr. Wagner has performed over 20,000 stem cell procedures. Are you in pain? Join him this Wednesday night at 6 o'clock for the free stem cell webinar and learn all about this amazing procedure. Register now at drmarkwagnermd.com. That's drmarkwagnermd.com.
You're listening to The Dugout every Tuesday at 1 with Bump and Stacy on Seattle Sports, the home of the Mariners.
We are taking a look around baseball. MLB.com has their list of 10 teams who could target Luis Robert. We've been talking about the trade deadline, so Curtis, let's start here. Their number one team is not the Mariners, though the Mariners are there at number 2. And those dang Phillies. What do you think about potential landing spots for Luis compared to Seattle? Seattle, I think, makes a ton of sense. They are top 5 in landing spots for a couple different outlets.
Yeah, it definitely makes a ton of sense for the Mariners. It's one of those things where it's like, how dare other teams try and improve themselves as the Mariners are trying to do so? The audacity.
Don't you know we are trying to acquire talent at the deadline? Why don't you slow your roll? It's not about you.
Phillies, you've won enough. You're in first place by a
Lay
ton.
off.
Yankees, we get it. You like to win.
MLB.
The unmitigated gall of these teams.
They also have the Orioles in there, the Cardinals, Dodgers, Rangers, Royals, Cubs, Braves. So many NL teams. I know that I mentioned some AL teams, but so many NL teams. Like the Pirates are not necessarily like in the thick of it, but they are. Like it's just wild to imagine the Pirates at this point, like Cubs as teams that are potentially there to acquire Luis Robert. I know there's club control and they maybe have their eyes set on 2025 as well, but
man, the Cubs, you wouldn't know it that the Cubs are this close in the wild card race because their fan base has just been absolutely beside themselves with the skid that they've been on.
Yep.
And yet here they are, just 3 back in the National League wild card. Get it together, National League.
Is this the greatest fan grab ever? That was what MLB asked themselves, and Curtis, your mind was blown when a fan caught barehanded a 108.5 mile per hour foul ball. This was insane.
Yeah, I I wouldn't be confident with a glove on.
No.
To catch a 108-mile-per-hour foul ball. That's a rocket coming your way.
Well, and the way the fan did it was pretty cool. I'll let you explain it. I just watched the video. But
So he's sitting in the top deck in the right field bleachers, and he leans over a railing, and on the other side of this railing is basically like Utah Street out
he's
out
risking
in right
his
field.
life.
Yeah, like there's nothing between him and a long fall down to pavement.
Certain death.
Yeah, it's off the bat of Josh Naylor, so certified power hitter. And this guy catches it barehanded 108 miles per hour off the bat.
So the fan came on the broadcast or whatever. Let me see this. Is this the fan that said this? Okay. The only person who wasn't be surprised. So he was a high school baseball outfielder 25 years ago and won a state championship in 1997. What are you, Dave Wyman? Won a state championship in 1997 at Chesapeake High School. So, he was also holding a drink in his hand.
Of course. Of course he was.
Yeah. So the fan, his name is Tim Byer, and take a listen to this. So he has a beer in his hand. He catches it one-handed, and then he goes on the broadcast, MASN broadcast with Rob Long. So then he's talking about catching it, and he says, "When you're good, you're good."
Right?
This fan.
This guy's just chill about it.
I love this
Like,
guy.
yeah, you know,
God.
ain't no big deal.
Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is walking back some anti-Yankee sentiment. In 2022, he said he'd never sign with the Yankees, not even dead. Okay, Griffey. In 2023, he told the New York Post that it was a personal thing that goes back with his family. He would never change it. But then on Monday, he said, sometimes one says things, which is a great line that I plan to use anytime I'm wrong about something.
Says things.
Exactly. Wait, Stacey, but you said, well, sometimes one says things. I don't know what to tell you.
Stacey, you said you'd love to work weekends for every weekend the rest of your life.
Sometimes one says things. I don't know. It feels Shakespearean. Look, sometimes one says things. Okay? He went on to say, I sat down and spoke with my dad and my family, and this is a business. I said I would never talk again about this topic, and lots of people have asked me about it. I love this quote.
I'm not talking about this again.
I love everything about this answer. Not only sometimes one says things, but also, look, I talked a lot about this, and I'm done.
I think this came about because Vlad Jr. is a big trade target right now. The Yankees need a first baseman because Anthony Rizzo has not played very well this season. So it would make sense that Vlad is probably saying, you know what? If it came down to it, I could probably play for the Yankees. That's fine,
God, how
I guess.
disgusting for the Yankees if they do acquire Vlad. Can you imagine? You already got Judge. You already got Soto, which obviously there's going to be a sweepstakes to keep Soto. But and then you're going to get Vlad. Get out. Just get out.
That'd be
I'm done with baseball.
A stupid amount of exit velocity. You saw Vlad last night go 470 over the Green Monster at Fenway.
Jeez Louise. I don't want to see him in a Yankees uniform. I really do not. I'm tired of seeing Juan Soto in a Yankees uniform.
I know, we've only seen it for like 2.5 months.
Exactly, and it hasn't been that long.
My biggest worry is that Soto signs an extension with the Yankees.
I think he will. I think he will.
I don't know why he wouldn't.
Especially if they go on to, knock on wood, and this not happening, win a World Series. Yeah, absolutely. That sweepstakes just got hotter and much more exciting for Yankees fans. I just want to know which listener will be the first to tell his kids, look, sometimes one says things, okay? I know I said we could get ice cream, but sometimes one says things.
Sometimes one says things.
All right, you guys, that will do it for us. This has been The Dugout. Don't forget that you have a 3:50 p.m. You got two early games here. So, once again, it's a 3:50 p.m. first pitch for Game 2. Really hoping the Mariners can take this one. And then, like Curtis said, really early tomorrow, 9:10 a.m. first pitch for tomorrow's series finale.
I'm guessing we'll be on after the game.
Yes.
Unless it goes into like 13, 14 innings.
Which I'm great. I'm fine for.
Yeah, if they want to do that.
Look, I will sit here and be like, you really got to have a dominant win. And then tomorrow I will actively root for game-tying moments. Sometimes one says things.
Sometimes one says things.
All right, Wyman and Bob coming up next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
Logan Gilbert, in his last 2 starts, has gone 16 combined innings, given up a total of 6 hits, 0 runs, 1 walk, and 15 strikeouts. He has been ridiculous. He is the most deserving member of this entire Mariners roster of an all-star nod.
Couldn't be more deserving. Here's the thing I love about him. First of all, he seems to really love coming on our show.
Yeah.
So I love that about him.
That's his most redeeming quality right there.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Hey, Brock Heward here, along with IRG Physical and Hand Therapy President and CEO Shannon O'Kelly. Now, Shannon, I need to ask you if what I've been hearing is true. You don't need a referral, really, to see a physical therapist in the state of Washington?
That's exactly right, Brock. The state of Washington is a state that has what's called direct access. That means that if you get up in the morning, for example, and you hurt your back or did something to your muscles or tendons or joints, you can call a physical therapist directly, and we can get you in that same day and start your care and your recovery process.
How can patients get scheduled with IRG?
Oh, it's easy. You just contact us at irgpt.com. We'll direct you to our concierge service, and we'll take care of all that for you. We handle all the authorization, verification. We want our patients to understand their insurance benefits and what the outcomes are going to be with their visit to IRG Physical and Hand Therapy.
Please, please, please don't let injuries keep you from your passion. Schedule online today at irgpt.com and start the journey back to your best self.
If your home has air conditioning, congratulations, because it looks like this summer is going to be a scorcher. But to make sure your AC system is working at its best, Deere Services is offering an inspection and tune-up with a no breakdown guarantee and no service fee for just $49, a $129 value. Assure yourself of a comfortable, cool summer. Visit DEARservices.net, make an appointment, and we'll be there